If you got here late, the chokaji's right there behind the shed down that trail. No, there's one right behind the shed, okay? All right, are you guys about ready? Get started. Give you a few minutes to get your seat ready. And we'll get started here in just a few seconds. But I'm going to give a quick introduction, and I'm going to ask Mr. Eufaula to come up and help me out here in a little bit. But before we get started, I want to give a round of applause to all the cooks, all the people that brought things to help eat tonight. You know, that was wonderful, wonderful meal. But I also want to say when that chili kicks in, y'all please be patient and line, single file at that O. No, that chokaji back there. So again, you know, we want to also just remind everybody, you know, be careful when you come up here. You know, there's a lot of dips in the ground. So again, I sure appreciate you guys coming out. Well, we got a massive crowd tonight. Let's give yourselves a round of applause. Boy, this is a great turnout for tonight. But again, I want to introduce myself. You know, I'm Christopher Hill, and a lot of you guys might know me as Christopher Honka Hill. I do a podcast with two other guys, Spirit Talkers, with Russell Sun Eagle and Tyler Randall. And we go around and we tell spooky stories, and we do podcasts and things like that. But I also do a YouTube page, and it's called Spooky Stories from Indian Country. And I go around traveling all over Indian Country, visiting different reservations and different Indian folks and getting their stories. I also known to do ghost hunts and other investigations throughout Indian country. And again, so, you know, some of you guys might not know who I am, and some of you guys might, but, you know, if you want to follow some of those stories, you know, you can follow it on YouTube, on Christopher Honka Hill, and also TikTok, and what else we got? Instagram, and same way with Spirit Talkers. You can find all those on all kinds of podcasts out there. So again, if you want to hear traditional stories or stories from other tribes, you know, check into that. You know, we've got some great stories from some great individuals. So again, I appreciate you guys coming out. And before we get started, I'm wanting Mr. Ben Eufaula to kick us off in that Muskogee way.
Enga madot Chris. Open up that hayo ako si Daddy Mac le Jesus Mac dun. Open up hayo ako si Mac kilo hando aga. Andon ya hayo magi with ya. Ya ikina Daddy lokabogia. Na kita ada tagi mahi hayo me. Ondos. You follow si Daddy dalwa Daddy awolin legade. Adam toko bacci Daddy hayo me. Ya bacci that legade runga. Molaki to Tajome, in the Vida Hajome, Punagadari Hajome, Association Hando Waga. Woman Hajome, Nagitleskadari Hajoma, Jokalagadi, in the Vida Hajome, Mr. Masco Galgedoyari, Moment Punagadari Hajome, Anokatidari, Adegusi, the way Mr. No Mass in Hajome. She didn't wake at Hajome, and get lawyers to call it Hajome, Moment Puneaget Hajome, Nectadari Hajome, Ibokalagibiga, Nagimuaga, Vunangira, Mungadi, Rodis of West, no measures, Moi dui bistu no ma moment hajome kasapi dari alakin hajome unakuti dari hajome harusai dakto di donga moment hajome mo adagi mahi dui bistu tomet komet hajome abogit punayak to di donga moment hajome adagi mahata hajome idalwadari abolin legedi dari moment hajome punakadari hajome punair hajome wiriari moment namu saya juga dua ibu no men hajome open night with to wega moi dua ibu no men moment mekadari hajome ambunakadari over there to go dua ibu no men mekadari abokadar hai hajome with to wega jegana dari legari nagira wana ho get hajome isti dua yari mopum mat bo machine hajome aboge nagira da vasti da bok to wega moment hajome isti dari hajome manakit hajome lagit nagida rojiari hajome moment punsha nakshaganahi hajome moment ida dari abigit hajome pullit moment hajome nitta dari bokhalagi birunga moment dari hajome nitta hajome gitlejari ilga dari hajome bokhalakken ilga nakko dari manogega punakadari hajome istijari shulgin punayaget pullagadi dui vistuno meten hajome na jovishir hagida yibiga momin nagida mogin hajome hain hajo punakadari hajome unakutidari madigusi vistuno meten hajome shirimbali hajome nittidari bokhalagi birunga momin hajome nagidari hajome amajulagidari hajome maga donga hajome stimbal hajome nagida sikdes abagin mo pumne aktori donga mo doi bistuno me desin hajome hobidagi dari nakutidari moas bagin mune aget hajome pullati donga moi bistuno men hajome nittidari hajome ilga hoski hajome do yari momin hajome Jegina dari hajom hibetki haget ayi bari istido yari nagita bunakadari momin puminwe hogadi donga momin hajom ye jai chido agachis ma hogin hajome momin jogo rakadari nagita hiliskudachi momin abastagada bogari ingitda dari hajome ye jai kadari igna mo hajome ajai jaget momin ashikadari puminwe hogadi donga moment ye jayit kadari hajome moment manakit hagit yibidonga moment inokadari jaradari halwi mai hagit hajome ibigidari nokogin hagi bari moidu ibistnomen mongari gogil stomes hajome nitdari bokhalagi bidonga moment hajome anitari hajome gitlas kadari hajome with it magit yari ambunokadari hamufed jisgado ibistnomen wasinadari mojajin dari hajome punagdar punayari hajome moment hagi beji do odi donga moidu ibistnomen ajulgidari anet kadari moment chasto magit abokrat hayat moment hajome ido jade hajome yarades ido shulgin shabaklagidonga moment hajome ambunakadari hajome magit with hajome ubanai with hayari moment yukjosi mahin hajome yegnadari okwit hayari moment hajome ibunangirari shulge ubunayaget fulla didonga mojo vistunome hajome nittidari apomin waswa kusit hageta yibari mungari gogistome hajome moment nagidari hajome nitlidari hajowa kusidari magbachas makkari idari moshinari moment hajome adakkusi maktundo hajome nagidari abastitara ujigibiga moment bunakadari hajowa kusidari makkan moment hajome manakkusi doi bistuno mesen moment hajome ambunakadari hajosi moment chafigi otusin hajome ubanai wihiyari yaskida ingansabara jileti hajome moment hajome nagidat moment in hoskada rosi nagida istimasko galgido yari moment hajome moment nagidari yeleti hajome wilaktiruari ubanakadari hajome hajulgidari chmokhabaye duwatiskum magaktori donga hajulgidari hajome wilet moment punakadari mihinwadari chibigo otusin asosai duwagachas moment hajome magaktori hajome anidari hajome amasayis ko doi bistuno mesen hobanayo wistuaga moment nagidari hobanga dogo dos come hajome hobanayo wihari Mohammed Dovistonomen, Mohammed Nagida Hajome, Mohammed Anokidari Dogo Hajome, Naged Obanado was his market, Mohammed Oibigats Punagadari Hajo Avisidare, Mohammed Market Hajome, Bikona Star. Oh!
He said, no, the Chokaji is over that way. No. You know, the thing he was talking about was, you know, just, what was it, over that way, or? Southwest. Southwest is old Tigabutchie ceremonial grounds. And, you know, he wanted to acknowledge those spirits tonight. And, you know, I asked him to speak, you know, how they spoke long time ago. And so again, you know, he did that. You know, again, that's what makes me being proud to be Muskogee Creek, because we still got individuals that can talk like that. Let's give him a round of applause for that. Righto! Tonight is going to be a real Muskogee night. You know, so if you guys are proud to be Muskogee, make some noise. All right. Now, any of the other tribes, y'all just have to sit back. No, just kidding. No, just teasing. Anyway, again, you know, I want to give a few minutes to Mr. John Tiger. You know, again, you know, he put this thing on, him and his family. You know, I definitely want to give him a minute to say whatever he'd like to say up here.
Good evening, folks. I'm glad you're out. We're all glad you're out here tonight with us. And where you're at has the allotted land of Benny Scott, my grandfather, who raised me, and Susie Scott, his wife. And this Benny was a retiree from the United States Postal Service in 1957, I believe, 33 years in the postal. He may be the first Native American postal worker that ever retired out of that department. And he was also a minister. He was also a War I vet. He was also a publisher of the Buckskin. I remember that. The Buckskin used to come out in the 50s and 60s, but that began when the war broke out in World War II. He thought it might be the best communication through publication on a typing paper, and he'd send it abroad to the servicemen in war overseas. And I can't tell you that. I mean, they were so welcome to receive news from back home. And he was the one that originated that ideal. And so he carried on that. He passed away in 72 at the age of 74. But he began typing way back in, I guess, in the 20s. And all the way, his last issue was 1971 of April of 1971. But anyway, this land was his land, a lot of land. There's 80 acres. And I don't know if Chalk's here or not, but she's the only surviving daughter. We have his daughter right now that's living. And I'd like to shout out to the Nebraska people. Raise your hand back to Nebraska. His grandkids over there in the corner of the light. See them? All right. They're from Winnebago, Nebraska. Let's give them a hand. And he would have been very happy to see everybody here tonight. Because he told us stories growing up. That's how he grew up. Especially he didn't have no TV or radio. And sometimes, some evenings, we would just sit down and talk about things, and he would talk about his experiences and talk about other people's stories. But tonight, if you have a story that you want to bring up, go ahead and think about it right now. You may want to talk about your family. You may want to talk about ghost stories. You may want to talk about supernatural beings. You may want to talk about tribal history, that's fine, but we don't want to get into politics, okay? Let's don't get into politics. It's an open mic session, and you'll be thinking about your stories. And I'm glad the Choctaws are here tonight. Where you at, Choctaw? So, our neighbors to the south. I'm glad they're here. And I know there's other tribes here. And anyway, we're all glad that you're here tonight. We come from the Eufaula Canadian Tribal Town. Our ground is over here about a mile and a half. Hello? Somebody tripped that wire. Hello? The breaker? Go ahead and plug the other. Okay, I'll shout it out then. Anyway, we're glad to hear you're here tonight, and we have technical issues right now. And glad that you're all here tonight. And I'll just tell you a story about this land right here while we're here. Right over there behind you. One time we heard a tree getting whipped. Like that whipping sound. And they used to say that was Sajapko, the tall man. And it's a tall man, and he's looks like a tree. They've seen him. I mean, people have seen him over the years. That's what they used to talk about. Sajapko and Ihoza is the one that makes you confused in the woods. And those are the things they used to talk about. Turn around. Hey, we're back on the air. Yay! What? Quit talking? Okay. But I want us to say that I want to hear your stories. I know y'all got stories, or boarding school, or where you work at, or they used to talk about complex. How that happens with ghosts at the Creek Nation complex. I've heard that one. Anyway, I want to turn it back over to our MC. Mado, thank you for coming.
Mado! All right. Those spirits are active tonight already. Already starting to play with us, as they say. Again, like Mr. Tiger said, the floor is going to be open here in just a second. But before we do, I'm going to tell you a spooky story. A story that might not even let you sleep at night anymore. Might even trouble you on your way back. The story is going to be about the most horriblest thing here in Creek Country. It's called Doretha Bimo. No, just teasing. But anyway, again, like I mentioned before, I get to travel around all over the Indian country throughout the United States, Canada, Alaska. I'm always hunting those boavichas and those honkas all over the place. They call me in to check out places sometimes. these other tribes. So again, I get an opportunity to visit these places that normally, like these Staheki people, they don't get to go, because these are reservations, Indian country, and one of these places was actually in Wisconsin, up there. I think it's called something like Ashland or something like that up there, right by that Lake Superior, right on that edge. Anyway, they got a famous inn over there. I can't remember the name of it right now, but anyway, it's known to be super haunted. Even the tribes around there, they have stories about that land. There was, wars fought, Indian wars long ago fought. Anyway, to make a long story short, they're always talking about this inn. They got different stories. You sleeping in different rooms, and you'll hear something standing by your bed, or you'll see something walking down the hallways, or you might even see something out your window, and you might be on the second or third floor. And again, there's always interesting stuff that go on at this inn. Anyway, make a long story short, they called me in to kind of stay the night in this place. And as crazy as I am, I said, okay. Again, they say sometimes these things come into your room and they bother you. And sometimes they'll leave things or they'll take things. And anyway, I was there all night. I was really just waiting all night. When the sun set, boy, my eyes kept getting bigger as the sun started to set. And before you knew it, it was pitch dark outside. It was late at night. I was just sitting there with big old eyes like that. And my ears were wide open. I was just listening and watching. And I had all this fancy equipment. And I had it all over in that inn, different down the hallways and down the rooms, and even in this dining area, they always say there's activity. It just kept getting late. I kept checking all my cameras, going by, nothing happening. So they have this room that, is very active, and they say, you'll see shadows all the time in there, night or day, there's things in there. But anyway, I was up, and pretty soon my adrenaline wore off. So I started getting sleepy. I finally went to sleep. And I was the only one in this inn. They had closed it and let me stay in there by myself. And anyway, make a long story short, I fell asleep. I was crashed out. I was snoring. You never snored before. Boy, I was loud. Anyway, morning came and I woke up and I went and checked all my cameras, and a lot of them were all turned off. But, I could tell nothing messed with them or anything, so I thought, well, they must just ran out of battery or whatever. So I was kind of disappointed. I thought, man, this is, everybody had stories. I was expecting to see, this big old honker in there or something. But anyway, I didn't catch anything. I went back and, I was flying back, and had my phone out, and I was kind of looking, and, kind of scrolling on Facebook and trying to, find out who's talking about who and all that stuff. And I went and looked at my pictures just because, I had walked around during the daytime, taking pictures of different things. But then I got to the end of that camera roll, and I saw pictures of myself laying in that bed. And it had pictures of right on my face. Then it was like it had a picture of me like it was a distance away. And I thought, man. But what was weird was, I even had cameras in that room. But I guess in the middle of the night they turned off. And I guess during that time, whomever or whatever got my phone and started taking pictures of me. That was crazy. But oh, all right, that was my story. So does anybody out there have a story that they would like to share? Don't be shy.
Can I ask you something?
Yes, go ahead.
Those pictures still on your phone?
Yeah, it's an older phone. But, you know, I don't know. They were just pictures of me. That was it. So if I showed it, people would be saying, oh, you let somebody in there take pictures of you and you sleep. But, you know how people are. They just don't want to believe anything. But I myself, I knew there wasn't nobody else in there because I was the only one locked in there. And like I said, that was pretty crazy. Anybody else have any questions? I can't see through these lights, so I know most of you creeks disappear in the dark. So if you got questions, speak up. If you got a story, come on down. Anybody, any takers? You guys back there hiding out. You guys got a story? All right. We got a storyteller right here. I love this hat. Give her a round of applause for that hat.
Thank you, Nancy, for the hat. I just want to say that, the war's going on over there in Israel. Back, I want to say maybe midsummer, that they were talking about the Northern Lights. These Northern Lights, this last go around, was seen by a lot of people throughout the world. I think even as far as the northern part of Oklahoma, that it was viewed. I've been always heard by elderlies that these Northern Lights, when they're seen at that time by practically the whole world, that means war. And that when I thought about it, when that war broke out in Israel a couple of weeks ago, that's what I thought about. That the Northern Lights was just letting us know that it was a message to all people throughout the world that, something's coming, something's going to happen. And it did. Because the Northern Lights, I think, usually you see it towards maybe fall, but this was summertime. And it was really viewed by a lot of people. And that's what I thought about, just sitting here. We don't ever know what happens from one day to next to our fellow brothers and sisters throughout the world. But sometimes we have to pay attention to what's around us. The nature that surrounds us, they can tell us things. So this Northern Lights, they were seen off and on throughout the year, but this time it was very visible to a lot of people. But I thought I just want to share that with you. I remember elders saying that's a sign of war, and it happened. So I just want to say, just kind of pay attention to what's around you, nature, because it will tell you. It will let you know what's going to happen. Even for winter time, so I don't know about that. If you've seen any forks or spoons and persimmons, just get ready for winter time.
Mono, appreciate it. Let's give her a round of applause. Okay, at this time we got a vendor out here, Mr. Tim Harley, and he's got these Bigfoot dolls. Is he back there? If he could bring one of his Bigfoots up here, I'd like to show them what you got. So, again, his name is Tim Harley. If you like these, he's selling them for Indian prices tonight only. While he's preparing, Is there anybody else out there interested in telling a story? Or can we go home right after this? No.
I came up with a new song. You know, it's cooling off after the sun goes down, so it's getting. Next thing you know, you'll be hearing songs like "Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your buns." Oh, I just had to throw it out there. But anyway, you know, like my sister said, yes, there were the Northern Lights. If you see them, that's usually a sign of war, they used to say in our family. And our great-great-grandfather, Jackson Lewis, was instrumental. And many of his relatives are out here tonight. And he was informing the ethnology group that were studying the Muskogee people in I think it was 1900, but it didn't publish till 1924. But it has a lot of information in it. Hold on here, we got a commercial break here.
All right, if you guys haven't ever seen these are pretty cool. Right here. He looks like the real deal, but I'm going to let Mr. Harley kind of tell the story about these. So, Mr. Harley, would you like to tell him a little bit about this?
Do you want me to tell the story all the keep telling about telling the demons? Yeah, but go ahead and talk about this first.
Oh, okay. About this Bigfoot thing we got over here, the real one is like that. It doesn't have a human face. It's got a dog face, and it's not nothing compared to what they show on TV. This thing has a head look like a Scotty dog, and it's got a hair parted right in the middle of his nose, and whisker hangs down about right here, and big old long hair in the back. And I'm gonna, before I get into it, I'm gonna tell you how it really happened when I first started making it. It was about 12 years ago. We was gonna throw some stuff for this man named Bobby Mings and Billy from Henrietta. And me and Louis Lindsay, we loaded up the truck, and it started, storm was fixing to come in. So I took the truck home with everything already loaded. And about 9 o'clock, the storm went over, and I went back to Louis. I said, "What are we going to do with this?" He said, "You know where to dump him?" And I said, "Yeah." If I would have dumped it, I wouldn't have said it, but we never didn't dump it. I said, "Let's go to south of Dustin. I know a bridge there that doesn't have no siding on there. So we could park the truck off and throw him off in that bridge." He said, "Okay." So storm went over and we went down there. It must be about 9:30. We went to south of Dustin and got to that bridge where there were no sides on there. And we parked the truck on top of it. And when we got out, Louis was still standing in the back of the truck instead of throwing stuff off. And I went around the other side of our truck, and he was kind of quiet for a little bit, and I said, and he said, "There's somebody coming." And I thought, who could be coming this time of the night? And I thought there was a house down there about a mile down the road, and there was a yard light out there, and I thought maybe that's what he's looking at. So I looked over there, and I didn't see nothing. And I looked down the road, and right after that storm, that moon came out, and you could see those moonlight hitting that dirt road. And I looked down there and I said, oh, I know what he's looking at. And what he told me was that there was a cedar tree where it came out, further on down. And he thought I might laugh at him and that thing might disappear, so he didn't tell me. So I looked down at the road and I said, oh, I know what he's looking at. And first, we thought it was a cow, and it was about like that, coming down that road. And as he was coming down there, then finally we noticed he was kind of swinging his arm. And it started out about halfway from here to that road out there. As it got closer, that thing was swinging his arm, and it was solid black. And as it got about from here to the edge of that fence back there, it got bigger and bigger, and it got about like that, like a little kid coming. And we should have jumped in the truck, and he's still in the back of the truck, and I'm on the left-hand side of the truck with the door open. And I should have jumped in there, but when they got there, he jumped out of the truck and went around the truck and jumped in the passenger side, and I went on the other side and jumped in the driver's side. That was the stupidest thing I thought we ever did. I should just crawl in. Anyway, as it got closer, this story, I know a lot of people say they don't like people saying it over and over, but this really happened, and it kind of stuck to me. And I know there might be some new people out there, but anyway, I keep saying the same story. And what happened, as it got closer, it got bigger and bigger. And finally, we jumped in the truck. And by the time we jumped in the truck, that thing was standing in front of our truck about from here to that light. And when we jumped in that truck, that thing was huge. And between his legs was about height of my truck, hood of my truck. And must have had a shorter leg, but I imagine the legs was about like that, I guess. And his arms, his body was kind of broad on the top, and that's when I really looked at it. I don't think it was a Bigfoot. It was some kind of a monster. I know it wasn't no Bigfoot like they show on TV. It was some kind of a monster. And his body was the size of my hood of my truck. And if y'all seen it before, y'all could probably be seeing the same thing. His arms were about like that, but made the other side of that hood about right in my truck. His arms were that big, but it was hanging down all the way to his knees. And his feet ain't big like you would think, like 17 inches. I don't think his feet was no more than about like this, because he's standing right in front of us. And a lot of people say, we got in a close encounter. I think they're bullying, because this thing will scare you. We didn't know what to do, and we didn't even know anything out there. I heard it before, but I didn't think I was going to come right in front of us. And anyway, he stood in front of our truck, and we're sitting inside of a truck this time, and that moon, when it comes out like that, and clouds going through, it kind of looked like one of the horror movie, but it was for real. Later on, I told him, I said, I was sitting in the truck like a drive-in theater. All I knew was a popcorn and a pop. but this was really happening. And as we sat in that truck, his whole body was about the size of my truck. And his head was about like that. He had a big old head about like that. And he didn't have no human face like they do on a Bigfoot, so his head was kind of like a Scotty dog, like this, and snout sticking out by like this. Right in between there was a hair parted right in the middle, real long stretch of hair parted right in the middle of that snout. And there's a big old hair sticking out all the way down to here, and the hair all the way back down like that. And he raised up his head like that, and that thing was snorting, but we didn't smell anything. He went like that, and just when I knew all the hair, real thin hair, just changed like that. And that thing, I bet that thing was good over 8 feet tall. I mean, that thing was big. Boy, we were scared. We didn't even know what to say. We could hear the heart beating. We didn't know what to do because we're sitting in the middle of the bridge, and we thought we could pick it up and throw it out that bridge with no siding. We're sitting in the middle of that bridge, and he's standing right in front of us. That's why we were scared, because I think that thing could have picked it up and just throw our truck right up in there. And we didn't know what to do. And we just kept looking around like that. And we had man, if people say they never been scared, they never seen the real one, because this thing was right in front of us. And we were looking right at it, because he's standing by right there, and every time moonlight comes around, he sticks his head up and looking around. We could hear it snorting. And from what I've seen, I kind of think this thing had a nose looked like a bull. I think it had a bull nose, because when that hair started going like that, I kind of seen his nose look like a bull, kind of black like that. And his eyeballs were about like that, and through that moonlight, that thing looked like the size of a baseball, and he had a ring around it. And as I was standing there, I was kind of real. I went like, I wonder what's all on this thing. No, I didn't do that. I was scared, but every time the wind blew, I could see the hair go like that. I could see everything on top of his head. And looked like he had an ear, kind of like a bear. And he had a little, like a big old round ear. And they always say that Bigfoot, they eat berries and whatever. You know, that berries ain't going to feel this thing, because that thing had a head by the size of a cow. I mean, his head was that big. And I couldn't see his neck, because that hair coming down here, going in the back, and on the side, you can't see his neck anyway. But the hair was about right here. When you throw it up, you could see a real saggy hair that's going like that. But right up here, I know he had a thick fur. And looked like he had a shorter leg. And we didn't know what to do. And he's standing in front of it. I imagine it was a good 2 minutes, but it was a 2 long minutes, because we didn't know what to do. We were scared and looking at it. We didn't even say a word. We just standing there like that. It's like, what's he going to do next? And we started breathing heavy. And if people said they never been scared, I think they're lying, because you read into what you said, you think it was scaring the crap out of you. We didn't know what to do. And he said, what are we going to do? I don't know. I said, I don't know what to do. But I said, I'm gonna get in the back seat and lay down. That was about the only choice I had, because I said, we bust that window. We're sitting right out of it. My best choice was hop in the back seat and just lay down in the back seat. And it was a good 2 minutes. It was like a horror movie, but it was for real. And I should have known. First thing came to my mind, I got on that horn. And I mean, I laid on that horn. I was just like that. That thing took off. If I didn't have no horn, I wouldn't know what to do with it. And when it took off, it only took about 2 or 3 steps, and it was already off the road. But when he took a step, when he raised up that leg, I noticed his leg wasn't even that big. And I wasn't investigating this Bigfoot or whatever monster or whatever it was, but I know exactly what it was. And a lot of people, we went down there the next day. We didn't see no footprint, but we know we seen it. And these things, sometimes they don't leave a footprint. And due to the fact is that it's kind of like an Indian wearing a moccasin. You know, when you wear a moccasin, you don't leave a footprint. And the sole of this monster is kind of like that, kind of round. So there's a chance that he don't leave a footprint. So they always say, well, we seen a big footprint. Maybe they did, but maybe it's a different type of Bigfoot. But these type, they don't leave a footprint. Their sole of their bottom is kind of like a moccasin. And when it took off, it was kind of sandy anyway. When it took off, I guess it just covered up as you went along. So this ain't living a footprint. And they always, well, I know where they sleep at and what they eat and all that, but you know, I'm not going to get into that because I know we got a lot of speakers out here. And anyway, that thing jumped out of the way. And I imagine we spent about about close to 30 minutes from getting out there and dealing with this thing. And this was a male Bigfoot, I know. And I ain't going to tell y'all about it. We seen this whole Bigfoot. And it ain't nothing like they saw on TV. And anyway, as soon as that thing left, we didn't dump nothing off. We just stepped on that gas and went on. And there's 2 mile section this way, and 1 mile section this way, and 2 mile back, and then 1 mile back to Destin. Well, as soon as we took off, I don't even remember stopping at that stop sign. I just slowed down and went around that stop sign and went across towards east. Then we came back across about another 2 more miles. I don't know how fast it was going, but we finally got to the number 9. We didn't even say nothing. We just came through Destin. And then we coming back to Henrietta, so we just kept on moving. We didn't even say nothing until we got to about Graham. And I finally caught my breath from there all the way up to there. So Lewis said, I thought I seen a car coming in. Lewis said, yeah, he said, what are we going to do with this stuff? Are we going to dump him off? I said, I don't know. We ought to just dump him off right in front of the school building and just go on. There ain't no cars coming. And I said, you think so? And I said, I know so. There ain't no car coming. You out there and listen to the cars coming. I'm going to dump it right in this school ground. Right in front of this parking lot. We were scared. There was a light there, and that's the only place we could dump off without being scared after what we'd seen. I said, okay. I looked back and we got out, and I said, Lewis, I said, we don't have to dump this stuff off. He said, why? He said, we ain't got nothing back there. We had that tailgate down. We had an ice box and a refrigerator, and we had a washer and a bunch of clothes. We kind of put them all down in there and make it one load. And I don't know what we had in there, but we tied some stuff down. But I know we had an ice box, and I know we had a washer in there, and old broken up tables, and probably old yard sale stuff that we just stuffed them all down there. We just packed that thing all the way down there. And I don't even know where we lost that thing. But when we got there, I said, Liz, we don't have to dump it. We don't have to dump nothing. He said, why? He said, we ain't got nothing back there. I don't know how far we dumped that thing. But I'm pretty sure we dumped all of it before we even got to Destin. And but that's actually how it really happened. And the Bigfoot I made wasn't something like you would see on TV. If most of y'all seen it or heard of it, or people talking, or maybe y'all seen it yourself, the real Bigfoot we got around here, I don't think it's a Bigfoot. We got some kind of a monster loose out here. And this thing doesn't have a human face. This Bigfoot figurine I made is exactly what it looks like. The head, if you look on there, that's the way it was. The arms, leg, and the head is exactly what it looked like. And there ain't nothing different. I wasn't no artist, but when I got home, I got me a fur and everything, and I didn't want to forget what I seen, and I started making a Bigfoot, and I made about 5 of them, different colors. And one time I was telling people, I said, "Is that a display?" And I said, "What do you want for it?" And I said, I didn't feel like selling them because it took me time to make them. And he said, "What do you want for it?" I said, "I'll take 40 for it." I didn't want to sell it. I said, $40. And they took them all. They took them all. And I said, "You got some more?" And I said, "No." You can bring some more? I said, "I guess I can make some." So I made about another 12 of them. And "You got any more?" And I said, "No." I said, "Well, this is my last time. I'm going to make about 15 of them." And I made 15 of them. He said, "You got some more?" And I said, "This time I'm going to make about 25 of them." And people actually did see something like that around here. He said, "Somebody seen this when they made it." I said, "Well, it was standing right in front of my truck." And he said, "Okay, I'm going to make about 25, and then that's it." He said, "That's too much work." But I said, I sold them all. And I said, "Well, I'm going to make about 50, so I don't have to make any more." So I made about 50 of them, and they almost knocked me out. And I said, "God, I got to make some more now." And finally, I got to where I could make them all at one time, and it looked like I had an assembly line. I could just put them all together and real fast, and I started making more. And I wasn't even an artist, but I've been making a lot of Bigfoots, and what I made is what it really was. And I made some back here. If you look at it, that's what it really looks like. You'll see a long arm, short leg, and the head will look like a dog, kind of a Scotty dog, and you have a hair hanging down right here and in the back. And just to get rid of it, we're just trying to sell it for $20 a piece. Anybody else interested in it, or somebody might have actually real seen it, it's going to be exactly the way y'all see it. Or people that might have told y'all it's going to be exactly how they really see it, that it doesn't have a human face. It's got a hair all over his face. And the way I made it was exactly the way it was, and nothing different. And I started selling Bigfoots, and I said, "You got some more?" And I said, I didn't try to make them, but I'll make some more. This is what I'm going to do. No, every time they ask, and I keep making. I said, "I'll make a little bit more than, I don't have to make it no more, then I have to make some more." So I must have made about 1,000 Bigfoots already. But I got left is all I got, and the one that ain't the real one, it's just something that I made. We got had some little pink Bigfoots, and I said, maybe let me see what they could do with these pink Bigfoots. And people start buying the pink Bigfoots. So I started making a dark brown, black, light brown, reddish brown, and gray ones already sold out. And then and I thought, but just for the heck, I was going to see what they could do with the pink one. And that little girl come by and said, "Hey, Dad, I want that little pink Bigfoot." I started selling pink Bigfoot, so I started making a pink Bigfoot. I got some white ones. And I don't know what Florida skunk ape looks like. I know what it looks like. It's just a name for another Bigfoot in Florida. But just for the heck of it, I made this Bigfoot. And I put a white stripe all the way down in the back. It's a Bigfoot, but it's kind of like a skunk. And people come by there. And I know that Florida skunk apes don't look like that, but I just made it look like a skunk ape. I made a little Bigfoot, and I put a white stripe all the way down to the back. And I started selling a bunch of them just to be laughing at, I guess.
You got people at this table.
Oh, okay. And anyway, I'm going to turn it over to somebody else, and if I get a chance, I'll talk to you some more. And that was a true story. That's how it really happened. Mother.
All right, remember, they're $20. So go help them out if you can. Also, we're going to make a quick announcement. The Spook Trail is now open, but he wants you guys to walk over there. He also wants to warn you guys that Bigfoot might give you a hickey back there. Or you might get a hickey by deer woman. I don't know. So anyway, I'm turning time over to John.
Okay, just to the north of here, there's some lights in the ground. Just stay to the right of each light. So the spook trail is now open down there now. So y'all walk through there. It kind of goes in a half circle. Don't run, just walk. Just be careful. Just watch your step, okay?
Muddo, and watch out for that deer woman, guys. And you ladies, Bigfoot's looking at y'all like that. Yeah. All right. If anybody else has a story, make your way up. Again, we have the floor open, but while you guys are thinking about your stories, I want to tell you guys a little story about myself. You know, my grandpa lived over there by Wetumpka, Oklahoma. We lived way out in the woods by that North Canadian River. Some of you guys might know that area. Anyway, you know, as kids, we used to go over there and swim every now and then when the water was kind of down. You know, they always said don't go over there when the water's up, you know, or after a new rain. Don't be playing around in that water. Anyway, you know, me and some of my relatives, I had a bunch of relatives, and we'd all have to go over there during the summertime, and we'd be playing around, get hot. We'd walk down there and, you know, swim around a little bit, you know, but this one afternoon, we were playing around, jumping in that water, and, you know, fighting around in that water, and for some reason, we all got this kind of funny vibe. I know I did. And for some reason, I got this feeling of fear in me. And anyway, I came up on shore, and I sat on a rock. And I noticed my other cousins, they had got out of the water too. And, you know, we were kind of looking at each other. But the thing I noticed about this time is that all the locusts got quiet. And it just seemed like time stood still. And we were all just kind of looking at each other. We didn't really say anything. But out of the water, we saw like a huge hump come out of that water and go back down. And we were all sitting there amazed, looking at that water. And it did it again. And it did it one more time. Then it went away. And we could see that water kind of make a, I don't know how you say, kind of a ripple in the water. Whatever it was huge in that water, and it was swimming away. And when that ripples kind of went downstream, everything got back to normal. All the noise and that feeling of fear went away. Now, as you know, Muskogees and Five Tribes, we have stories of those water monsters. And that is mine, Madu. Now, does anybody else have a story out there? Remember, you'll have to come up because I can't see you through the lights. You got a story? All right.
Okay, so this is a story of a dream. And my name is Elijah. So, this story starts out as me sleeping, and then I wake up. If I can remember, 7. And then I wake up, and then it's daylight. I go to sleep because I'm like, Mom, 5 more minutes. And then I wake up 5 more minutes later, my brother is playing video games. I say, Teddy, can I join you? And then Teddy says, yeah, sure. And then I join. And then me and my brother play video games for 10 minutes, and then we get off, take a break. And then I go to sleep for like about 5 more minutes, chilling with my dog. And then I wake up at night. I see an owl outside. It's like smiling, like on my mom's rose bush. And I go outside to check it out. It's like looking at me. It flies on my porch. It looks at me. I start running. And I go inside, and then it's still looking at me. It starts banging on the window, and then I just go to my room, start hiding for a few minutes. It's gone. Then I go to sleep. Acts like nothing just happened, and then I wake up again, talking to my mom what just happened. She believes me. And then I just act like nothing happened. Like I'm like, it's just something I probably just saw. And I go to sleep again, cause like I like sleeping. I'm a sleepy guy, you know. And then I wake up again, and I just eat something. I go to sleep, and I wake up. I play video games, and I wake up at 12 a.m. at night, and then this time it's like, okay, it's not night, it's day, but like 12 in the day in the afternoon, and I go outside to take my dog on a walk, and my brother says something just flew, and I look up at a tree, and like that same owl that smiled at me, started banging on the window, starts coming down. It's climbing through the grass. I say, my dog's name is Kiwi, and I say, Kiwi, come here, and then she doesn't listen. I try to go grab her, and then the owl just comes to get me, and then just flies away. Takes my dog too, and then just lays in my nest and fall out. And I felt like my mom saw me, and she then finally believed what she saw, and yeah, that's it.
You guys give him another round of applause. That's all right. Anyway, again, make another announcement for that spook trail back there. I hear it's getting wild back there. So, you guys interested going back there? Please take some pictures. If you see anything, send it to me. Also want to make an announcement that they still got plenty of food up here. If you haven't had enough to eat, or maybe you didn't get anything, come on up and eat. Get you something to eat. All right, is there any other storytellers out there? Do we got any takers out there? We come out here to hear some spooky stories. Anybody? Going once.
Yeah, I got one.
Going twice. No. 3 times he's out of there. No, anybody else? No, I'm just kidding. No.
Oh, here she goes, here she goes.
Okay. Well, we're going to tell this together. Try. We went to Eufaula boarding school, just over that way. And at the time that we went, it was an all-girls school. And there's one thing that both of us thought of at the same time when John said, all right, let's hear some EBS stories. So we both thought of the same thing. And I guess that's what's impressed on our heart, on my mind. Anyway, girls are going to be girls, right? And it was past bedtime. And sometimes
we get to talking. And we decided we were going to tell scary stories that night. So all of us girls, we in our dorm, pushed our beds together in this one room. And when we got our beds together, we all started sharing our stories that we had heard all our lives and everything. And we had one girl on lookout because we were in high school then. And so they thought we were a little bit more responsible. So we didn't have to have a matron with us all night long. She would come over and check on us every little bit. So we were going to be prepared and go ahead and have our lookout looking for her, and one of them said, "She's coming. I see her coming." And so we all go to see if she really is coming, because we didn't want to end our fun. And when we look, she's coming out the door, and she always had this big old flashlight because she has to walk across the campus to our building. And as she was walking across, we were busy scooting our bunks back in place so that we wouldn't get in trouble for being up past our bedtime, because we had to go to school the next day. And as we were getting ready and everything, we heard the door open. You take over now.
We thought that she was going to be coming up the stairs, so we all got in our beds and pretended like we were asleep. And we waited, and she never came into our rooms. But someone saw lights flashing, but we never heard her, or she never came to our rooms. Well, about 2 or 3 minutes later, it wasn't enough time for her to go from here back to the building and come back. And our lookout said, "Here she comes." We're like, "But she's already here." And well, no, she's not.
She was there. She was not there. And today, I swear, I think all of us remember this, the ones that were present that night. We really saw her walking across. And some of us thought we heard the door open. And we thought we heard her coming up the stairs. And one of the girls says, "I did see the light, but it wasn't her at all." So who was it? And did it really happen?
And that will never be explained.
Let's make some more noise for them. Man, that was an awesome story. Awesome story. Does anybody else have a story out there that they would like to share tonight? Anybody? Come on up if you have one. Oh, all right.
Hello, my name's Tia Tiger. I'm not really good at storytelling, so bear with me. About when I was 5 or 6, I don't know, I was just little, and my grandma stays out in this country house right off the highway in Carnegie. At the time, you know, all the bedrooms are full, so I always had to sleep in the living room off the couch. And in her house is blessed now, so we don't hear what we used to, but I'll sleep on the couch, and my nieces and my aunt, they just came from Wyoming. They're staying in town, so I kept the door locked, whatever. And I heard 3 knocks at the door. Didn't think anything of it. Then they go around the back and they start knocking on the window 3 times, and I'm like, "What is that?" And so I don't say anything after it, and I just go back to sleep. And then not even 10-15 minutes later, I hear it again at the door. So I open the door, and that's like not even what you're supposed to do. Just leave it alone, pray it away. But I was young. I didn't understand anything. I didn't know what it was. So I opened I don't know if I opened the front door or whatever I heard, but I heard it clear as day. It said, "Hey sis, it's me. Open up the door." And the only person who calls me sis is my aunt. So when I opened it up, no lights, nothing, pitch black. It's dark out there. She got one single light, and if it's off, you don't see nothing. So I get kind of scared, and I just shut the door and I go back. So I hide under the covers because, I'm scared at that point, because how could I hear it clear as day? And, I'm young, like, why? I don't know. And then it knocks at the door again. And then I didn't want to wake my grandma up or anything, because it's like middle of the night, don't even know what time it is. I didn't have no phone, so I don't have no sense of time. And hear it again. This time when I opened up the door, I opened up the screen door. And I look to the right of the field, and I just see something like a dark shadow just slowly creeping around the corner. And after that, I was scared. I locked the door, I shut everything, and I went to go sleep with my grandma. That's all I got for you guys.
Mado. Let's give her another round of applause. Dang, I'm really trying to chew fast.
I've been all over that corner, Gary.
That's scary. My grandma lives off the highway right
there.
Is there any more, anybody else would like to share a story? So I can finish my food? No.
And then way in the back row.
Any takers?
Town nowhere. And when you get out of corner, there's a Pups Cafe.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Mountain View. Yeah. I've been.
Okay,
Yeah.
now, I'm going to ask you again, who all wants to go on a hayride? Fran Lewis, you there? Okay, I don't know how many we're going to get on the wagon. Fran's going to be our driver. But the wagon, the trailer's back here in the opening, and coordinate with him. Just go back that way to get on that wagon. Anyway, like I said, you're going to go down the road about a mile and a half, turn around and come back. And we try not to go fast, because even if you get scared, we're still going to go slow. But again, there's nobody lives down there now. There's nobody down there but graves. And the lake's got something floating around in it. And the trees hang over the road like this. So, but anyway, it's just a fun. Don't think of nothing else but getting back. Y'all changed your mind already? Well, if you want a hayride, go back there in the back there and he'll coordinate with him.
Mado! Boy, he scared me when he said that thing was floating in the water. Took me back to 3rd grade at the pool. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Anyway, we have another storyteller up here. You guys, give her your attention. She's getting ready to scare you guys real good.
Okay. Let me see if I can get this in order. When my grandmother and my grandfather lived, I happen to be Cherokee, so they're from the Tahlequah area. Actually, they're from Moody's, Oklahoma. And I remember telling one of my friends, she said, well, where's your family from? I said, out by Tahlequah. She said, where out by Tahlequah? I said, Moody's. And she said, Moody's? She said, I won't even go to Moody's in the daytime. That place is haunted. But when they lived out there, they built their house on a piece of land. And there was a Little People trail that they built their house over. And so they could hear the Little People talking in their house. And sometimes if they had to light something with a match, they would light the match and the Little People would blow it out. But there was, we were told that there was a little girl out there that was buried, that she had died, and but nobody knew where her grave was. And so my mother was just a little girl at the time, and there was nobody that lived for miles around, and she would go outside and play, and when she came back in, she would tell my grandmother that she was playing with a little girl. And they always thought that it was that little girl's ghost that she was playing with. And so my mother could tell when someone was coming to the house, or she knew things before they happened. So my grandmother called a medicine man, and they took her out and they washed her eyes so that she wouldn't see and know these things anymore. And of course, later on, she grew up and got married, and then I came along. And when I was probably just maybe 3, my great-grandfather used to sit in a rocking chair at our house in Tahlequah, and he would sit there and rock, and all of us children, we were small, but he would make us sit around him on the floor, and he would talk to us in Cherokee, and he would tell us, different stories, different things. And I remember one time he told me, he said, something might come up behind you. and you can hear them walking behind you. I don't want you to turn around and look because they'll turn you to dust. You just say these 3 words and it'll lift you about 2 inches off the ground and you'll fly the rest of the way home, but don't look down. You just look straight ahead and you'll be all right. And I never had to say them. I can't even remember what they are now. But when I was about probably a couple of years after that, my mom and dad divorced, and she was working. And one day, I would see and hear things too, but I never told anybody, and so they've never. I've never had a medicine man come and treat me. And so one day, I told my grandmother, I was in the living room, and I screamed, and she ran in there into the bedroom, and she said, "What's the matter?" And it happened that my daddy had come by that day, and I said, "I can see a hand, and it's on the top of the dresser over there. It's feeling around the Chester drawers." And I said, "And I'm scared." And she said, "There's nothing up there. I can see there's nothing up there." And so she hollered at my daddy, and she said, "Come and move that away," because I was just inconsolable. And so she said, "Come and move that away from the wall so she can see there's nothing back there." And he did, but I was afraid to even go look because I just knew that whatever I was seeing, feeling around up there, was back behind there, and he was going to let it get me. But I finally did look, and sure enough, there was just nothing there but a blank wall. And so we waited for my mama to come home, and she didn't come. And pretty soon the police came, and they said she's been injured. She's been in a car wreck, and her arm is broken from here to here. And it was what I saw, feeling around on the top of that dresser. Later on, as I grew older, I would continue to, see and hear things. Sometimes, like this other young lady was saying, I would hear my family call my name, and my family is the only one who calls me by my first name and my middle name. And I heard them calling me, and I too went to the door because I thought they were there. I thought it was my aunt, and I thought she was there trying to get my attention. But there was no one there, and but like I said, all my life, things like that have, been a part of my life, and it's just normal for me. And what am I missing out on? There's something I'm missing, I know. Where's my girls? But I'm trying to think of telling these things in the order that they happened. Even after I started dating my husband, we were in Okmulgee at the time. We were both students at Tech, and one of the guys, everybody said, "Let's go out, and we're going to go to this old Indian graveyard." And they say that at midnight, you can see the warriors rise up out of the ground and get on their horses, mount them, and rush towards you, and then they just vanish before they get to you. And so we went out there, and about 10:30, I told my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, I said, "Let's go." I said, "I can't stay here all night. I'm bored." I said, "There's nothing to do. It's just dark out here." So one of the other guys that had gone with us said, "Can I catch a ride back to school?" And we said, "Okay." So my husband got out of the car, and it was just me sitting in the front seat and this guy that we were going to take back to school sitting in the back seat. And he and I were talking, and all of a sudden he threw the front seat forward on the driver's side, opened the door, jumped out, and started running. And I thought, what in the world? And when we got back to school, he was already there. And I said, what why did you leave like that? How did you get back? He said, I ran all the way back to school. Oh my goodness, it's probably 5 miles. And he said, didn't you see her? And I said, who? And he said, there was a lady at the window of the car door on your side. And he said, and she was bent down, and looked like she was going to tap on the window. And he said, I was going to tell you to turn around. And then when I looked at her, I realized I could see the trees through her. And he said, it scared me so bad, I just jumped up and ran. I said, and you just left me there? And that, like I said, there's all kinds of things that have happened, you know, in my lifetime, and things I've seen. And so I guess that's all I can think of right off the top of my head right now. Can y'all think of something I'm leaving out? No? Okay, I think that's it.
Let's make some more noise for her. That was a good one. Boy, I tell you what. That's one of those stories that really spooky. So, anyway, again, they have the hayride and the spook trail open if you guys are interested. You guys watching this from home, you really are missing out. You guys make some noise for those people at home. See, you guys are missing that. All right, here's our other storyteller.
Ewan tell some good stories. When I was a kid, actually, when I was a kid, I was actually a young dad. We were out at Neshoba Cemetery. It's where my relatives are buried. I'm from, our family's from the Big Lick area, down in the woods south of Clayton. And we were out cleaning the graves, and some of the graves were marked. You know how those old graveyards are. You can see some of them. Some of them are not. And my Hoganay, her name is Nancy. She told me this story, and it bugged me so much I had to write it down. But it's a good family story. So there was a woman that was at the church, and they were in the camp houses, and at that time there was about 7 camp houses that surrounded the church, and everyone was always suspicious of this lady apparently, and my aunt definitely was when she was a child, and so her cousin Chocho, which means piglet in Choctaw, her cousin Chocho was begging her, just begged her, said, I want you got to stay in the camp house with me. I don't like it there with my aunt. She said, come, you've got to stay with me. And so we keep cleaning the graves. And so my Hoganay, she said, I told you, don't get close to that one. Stay away from that one. I said, okay. I said, I will. All right. So as we're doing this, she's relaying the story from her childhood. So apparently her and Chocho had talked their daddy into taking them into town to get some RC Cola and get some peanuts. And so I joked her and I said, oh, you guys just had a tummy ache. I said, this isn't a scary story at all. She said what had happened is Chocho managed to talk her into for them to stay in the camp house together. And it started storming. And you know what it sounds like when hail hits that tin. It started getting loud, and it was banging really loud. And as the lightning went down, they saw the flash onto the side of the wall, and they looked over, and this woman, who I would just call her, I'll call her Eli, I'll call her Death. This woman was asleep, but as she slept, she began to breathe hard and heavily. And this is an elderly woman. I asked how old she was. She said she had to be in her 80s, and that the reason that everyone was scared of her is so she relayed to me that her mother, my granny, Rhoda, would take pepper and put out in front of her camp house, because in those days, she said, if someone meant you bad, then they'd start sweating. And so she remembered this because this old lady came up to camp house looking for billa, to get some cooking oil, and she started rubbing her head, and so that's how my granny knew that this particular person did not have good intentions toward her. So as she's relaying the story, she said, then the lightning kept striking, and she didn't want to look, but she was under one of those big heavy blankets, the ones that crush you, that they used to make back in the day. And as she looked at the lightning, she could see a figure that started crawling from between the legs of the old woman, and it started crawling across her belly. And as she looked at it, it turned its head and looked at her and looked like it was sad. And then it turned back and started crawling again. This infant-looking thing. And as the lightning kept striking, she kept looking. And the infant eventually arrived at the mouth of the woman. And her mouth extended out. Not just down, but out. And the baby crawled into the mouth. And then my aunt said that she got up and ran so fast to her own camp house that Chocho was screaming behind her. So that's the family story.
But oh, that's a good one, good one. Again, is there any other storytellers out there that'd like to share a story? One or two, don't matter. Come on down if you have a story. While you guys are thinking, I have a story to tell. Again, this was, I think, around the late 90s, I believe. I was working for Indian Healthcare, Indian Health Services, and I got sent up to Rosebud. And anyway, I was up in that area anyway, and I was traveling to Rosebud from Pine Ridge. And they have a famous highway up there, and it's notoriously to be haunted. And anyway, this was, a lot of these tribes, they had old vehicles even in the 90s, so the vehicle they gave me, the government vehicle, was one of those old four-door, big old Hummer cars, those great big, just looked like a tank, those had big wheels and 4 doors, and windows didn't even roll up or down, so they were just stuck there. So anyway, make a long story short, they sent me over there to Rosebud to do a survey. So I had to leave after work and head down there for the next day. So they had a hotel and everything. I was traveling down this famous road. Anyway, it's got a lot of turns and curves and, but anyway, to make a long story short, it was at nighttime, and I was traveling down this road, and this car didn't even have a radio. That's how rugged it was, and anyway, so I was sitting there, trying to entertain myself, going down the road, and it's late at night, and I would see cars come behind me with their lights, and then they would turn off and go down a different road, and I was just cruising around, just looking around, seeing what I could see, and looking out for deers and whatnot. Anyway, pretty soon I got this eerie feeling, and, I know a lot of my kinfolks, they would say, if you ever driving down a road by yourself, don't look in that rear view mirror or don't look in that back seat. And I remember that. And anyway, I started getting that crazy feeling. And anyway, I started to hear something in that back seat, like there was someone sitting back there. And, you know, I had that presence, you know, like someone was actually back there. And, you know, my curiosity got the better of me. And of course, I looked in the back seat, and at that time there was a car behind me. And I seen a figure of a woman sitting in that back seat passenger side. And, you know, it really startled me, you know. And so, again, I just started looking straight ahead, you know, and I didn't want to look in that back seat again, but I could still hear her back there. And it sounded like she was crying. And so I remember, you know, sometimes they would tell you can talk to them, you know, because they used to be people, these spirits. And so, you know, I told it, you know, I'm up here to work, you know, to provide for my family. And, you know, I'm not bothering you, and I ask that you not bother me. You're scaring me. And I'd ask for you to kind of leave me alone. I said it in a nice way. And anyway, about that time, that big old heavy door at the back opened up, and I heard it slam. You know, you have to remember, I was going down the highway back then. Speed limit was like 50 miles an hour. And, but still, yeah, with those big heavy doors, it'd be hard for you to kind of open it up against that wind. But anyway, about that time, that of course, that flipped me out. But also what scared me was there was police lights were behind me, and they came on. And I thought, oh, man, I'm glad those guys are, you know, here. But anyway, I pulled over, and I parked, and, you know, I opened the door, and, you know, that cop come up, or that highway patrolman came up to me and asked me what happened, you know, what fell out of my back seat. And I said, I don't know. I was kind of shooken up anyway, so I told him the story. And, you know, he said, you know, I'm a highway patrol, and I patrol this area, you know, quite frequently, and I always see and hear about all things that happen on this highway. He said, I did see your door open up and something fall out. He said, let's look and see if we can find something. So, you know, of course, he had a big old flashlight. We walked up and down that highway looking for anything that might have fallen out of that car. But there was nothing. We couldn't find anything. He just told me, he said, on this road, it's just an odd road. And there's things that you cannot explain. And that is my story. Madu. Is there anybody else out there with a story? Anybody? All right, come on down. This is Mrs. Spooky herself. Y'all better get ready. Better start sitting in somebody's lap right now. I know it. Here it comes. You guys better watch out at home.
Yours was pretty scary. This one, I don't know if I've told it before, but I was a kid probably, and now I can't even think which one I was going to tell. Okay. No, I wasn't a kid. This is another time. I've had so many. This is when I was a young mother living far eastern Oklahoma County, Hera, Oklahoma. And it was around I think it was around New Year's. My brother and his kids, well, my brother was actually, he came to live with me and my two kids. But I would have my nephews and I had 4 nephews, and I had my own 2 kids. Quite often they would come and spend time with me. And that particular weekend, I told my brother, I said, now if you go out drinking, I don't want you to come home acting crazy. So if you think you're going to act crazy, you just stay out. And so the kids were sleeping I had them all in the living room, even though we had 3 bedrooms. I was back in the far bedroom sleeping. I left the lights on in the living room for the kids because I know they're little and they get scared. It was probably about 1:30 in the morning, and I kept hearing something in the front room, and it's like somebody was trying to get into the front door. So I thought, oh no, it's my brother coming home drunk. And so I get up and I go in there. All the kids are asleep except for one. And he's standing at the front door. And I said, did you open the door? And he says, he didn't say anything, he just shook his head. And he has these big brown eyes and kind of sad looking. And I said, are you okay? And he shakes his head no. And I said, did somebody come to the door? And he said, I said, well, I heard the door open. And he was just standing there like he was just scared. So scared he couldn't talk. And I said, did someone come into the door? Did your daddy come home? And he shakes his head no. I said, I know I heard that door. And he shakes his head yes. And so I go to the window. I wasn't going to go to the door and open it because the young lady sharing her story, that's the same thing I was taught. Don't open those doors at night because you don't know what you're bringing in. So I went to the window, and it was snowy out there. But even though Ira and I both heard that, there were no footprints in the snow. So something made the noise like the door had opened up and shut. But he hadn't seen it. He heard it, but he hadn't seen anything. I heard it, and I asked him if he saw anything. And, of course, I got my answer when he shook his head. So that was pretty spooky. But then we learned later that that particular neighborhood was built over an old Indian cemetery. So that's one of my scary stories. Mm-hmm.
Let's give her another round of applause. That was awesome. Does anybody else have a story? Going once, going twice, we go home. No. Oh, there you go. Dang, he scared me coming at me like that.
Time to go home, I guess. Anyway, whoever's coming up here, go ahead. I've just got something to tell you. There was a lady over here named Tina Tiger, and she said she was from Carnegie. I never thought I would do that, but just to be doing something. I've been to every 77 counties in Oklahoma. I've been all over that back roads. And when she mentioned Carnegie, I was telling her, I said, I've been all over. I forgot to tell her, but I thought, since I ain't doing it, I retired. I said, I can go all over Oklahoma and ask for Bigfoot, and I never thought of doing that, but just to be doing it, I did that. So I went down west of Interstate 40, past Oklahoma City, and I turned off this place called Hinton Turnoff. And when I passed Hinton, I just kept on going this 2-lane highway, and I seen this little sign that says La Cuba. And I turned on this dirt road, and I went about 4 miles, and I went to other end. There was an airport there, a little filling station. I went way back around by another couple of more miles, and I see Igley, and I passed by that. So I said, I'm going to check this town out where the Igley is. So I went back there, and I went to the end of that main street, and I started coming back the other way. And I ended up back on that little sandy road going towards that pavement road. I got off. And anyway, I said, I can go to this highway over here. And I got tired, and I got stopped over at that little place called I think it was, anyway, there was a Ford Cop. And I went on, and I went all the way to this place where they had those old tractors and stuff, and it was called Alfalfa. And I said, well, I'm going to turn to the little dirt road, and I'm going to go this way, see how far I'll go over here. And I ended up in the lake way down there. And I come back on that road again, and I went going towards Carnegie. And as I got there, before I got to this Carnegie, there was a big old skating ring back there called Carnegie Hall. And my little nephew said, what's that Carnegie Hall? I said, that's where Beatles came, that Carnegie Hall. He said, really? He said, Horty looked at it and said, why you quit lying to me? I gotta believe it because Beatles came to Carnegie Hall, and when I got to Carnegie Hall, it was a skating ring after that. This is where Beatles came in. Anyway, I passed that bridge and there was a ballpark, and I went the other way, and I went way down there, and there was a little town called Nowhere. And that was about it. That was nowhere, so I got right back on there. And then I came back on number 9 all the way to Carnegie, and I said there was a little cafe called Pup's Cafe, and I ate out there, and it was pretty good out there. And I was just telling that lady, I said, I've been all over Oklahoma, and I'm just showing you all that, you know, she know that I've been all over Oklahoma. So she know where Carnegie is. I've been all over that back road. So I'm going to turn, I just thought I'd put that in.
Otto! I've been on those back roads too. No. But I can't tell you those stories.
Okay, I asked my girls, I said, did I leave something out? And as soon as I sat down, my granddaughter said, Mommy, you left something out. So I want to tell you 2 things. When I was a small child, I must have been about 8, I got really, really sick. And my aunt was a nurse. And so she came over and took care of me during that time. But I was so sick that they tried to give me a shot, and it didn't work well on me. I was allergic to it, and I had a real severe reaction, and I guess I almost died. I don't know. I was little, and I just remember bleeding from my nose and from my mouth. And so when I did finally get well, I would look out the window at nighttime, and there was always a man standing by a little ways away, like where Bigfoot's standing, just far enough away that I could see him, and I couldn't see his features, I couldn't see his face, I could just see the shape of him, and I always thought he looked like Frankenstein. He was big and broad-shouldered and just huge, and but wherever I went, after I got married and whenever I went to school and stuff, anytime I would look out my bedroom window, I would see that man standing out there. And so he kind of follows me wherever I go. And about a year ago, my husband, I never opened my blinds at nighttime at my bedroom. And he had the blinds open, and it made me cry. And I told him, I said, this is the only place I feel safe because I feel like he doesn't know where I am. But if he sees me, he'll start standing outside the window again. And when I was expecting my first daughter, my husband was in the bathroom, and so the room was pitch black and you couldn't see anything. And so I opened the blinds. It was maybe March or something, just about the time you get kind of a cool breeze, and it was nice. And so I opened the blinds, and there was a face pressed against the window looking back at me. And when my husband opened the bathroom door and came out, I screamed at him and I said, there's somebody at the window, and he went running out the door, but he never did catch anybody, didn't see anybody. And so that was one of my stories. But what my granddaughter wants me to tell you is that shortly after that, we bought a house in Tulsa, and we moved there, and we came home one night, and I was standing there, and I was sitting in the car. My husband drove in the driveway, and I was sitting in the passenger seat, and I saw a man, a tall man, and it looked like he had on a top hat. I told my husband, I said, that looks like Abraham Lincoln, and he's standing next to our house. He's just leaning on the side of the house.
And he said, well, you stay here, I'll get out and go check. And I was afraid for him, so I got out too and followed him over to the side of the house. And he never did tell me until just a few years ago that he didn't see anything. But when I got out, I saw that man standing there, and it looked like he was standing there and then just looked like he just sort of melted. And when he got probably about this high, he was like a panther. He was black, he had a long tail, and he went around the side of the house. And I told one of my friends when we went to a church camp, I said, one time, this is what I saw. And she said, oh, it's a shapeshifter. And she said, what you saw was a medicine man. And she said, if you go to a medicine man, he'll tell you, she said, who he was. And she said, what had you done? And I said, I don't know. I didn't think I did anything. And she said, well, he came to visit you for a reason. And so I don't know. I guess that's my story for the night, is I actually saw somebody shift.
If you want to do the hayride, I think they're over there. Oh, they just left? All right. Oh, all right, you can run and catch up with them. No, I'm just kidding. Dang, I have reports that they had seen something down there. I hope you guys on those hayrides are taking some pictures and bring them back. But oh, all right. Do we have any more storytellers out there? Going once.
Once upon a time in Arkansas. No, once upon a time we did live in Arkansas, and my husband worked for the Boy Scouts, and they had this really scary Boy Scout camp, and it was kind of like that one in the Jason movies, the Halloween movie, no, Friday the 13th movies. It was like that, and they had a lot of stories about that place. It was pretty scary, and one night, some of us got brave and thought we'd walk down this trail kind of like everybody's doing around here. And it wasn't set up, though, like it was here. It was actually very scary, but you had to stay on the trail because there's this story about the Wampagators. And I thought they were just pulling my leg. They said, no, there's really a story about Wampagators, what they call it, the Wampagators, half man, half gator. And so we got brave and we were walking down the trail, and we had flashlights, but we didn't use them that much. We were trying to be real careful because we didn't want to make the gator or whatever it was to come to us. But we got brave and we were walking along and walking and walking. I don't know how far we walked, but we finally got tired and sat and talked to each other and just visited and said, I think they're just pulling our leg. There's no Wampagator out here. You know, and so we started heading back, and like you heard the people screaming back here, I guess somebody was out there really trying to scare them, but this place was creepy. This place was really creepy, and we were just trying to walk and be brave like this, and we had our flashlights, but we weren't going like this like crazy because we were afraid we might bring something out. But we had them just in case. And so we walked along and we were almost back to our campsite. And all of a sudden, whoa! Yeah. The Wampagator. But we just ran and screamed. It didn't get us. But I scared you, some of you.
Mano. Dang, she made me hopey. Startled me that much. Yeah. Oh, do we have any more? Come on up. We got another storyteller. Right here. Don't be making me hopey like that no more. I have to go home and change my rutabagas. No.
Okay, I was raised up around Sand Creek, Baptist Church around Destin and Wetumpka area. And we would have our business meeting, and you know how long those go, a long time ago for our elders. You know, they would begin their hours and hours, you know, discussing business and everything. And so as kids would just play outside. And but our elders always told us, you know, y'all shouldn't be really out there playing because you're going to have somebody playing with you. You know, they said they'll start playing with you, those ghosts, or whatever, however way they say ghosts and creep. But anyway, so we were playing kick the can, and there was a bunch of us. There was about 3 of us cousins, and we went behind this one camp house, and we're standing on the porch, and we're standing there, and we're laughing around, giggling and everything. And I sort of turned around like this, and I looked back, and right in the corner there was a little girl standing there. And I said, Hoopty. I said, is that Frida back there? She said, no. I said, well, who's that little girl back there? And she said, look back there. And then everybody else looked back there, and we said, I don't know who that is, but we're standing there, and she was just standing there looking at us. And so, but anyway, we took off running and everything. But at the same area, at that camp house, my grandma was going to the, you know, we had outhouses at that time. She was going to the Chogaji, and as she was going, she was in there, and she heard rustling. It was fall time, and she heard rustling on the ground and everything. And then all of a sudden, she looked through the cracks in that Chogaji, and there was a little girl standing there. So it's the same little girl that was always around in that area playing with us. And anyway, my grandma was there, and she said, are you okay? Do you need somebody to talk to? And it just sort of, she said it answered, but it had a hollow sound to it. And so then after that, you know, we never did play around in that area because we didn't want that little girl to play with us. And that's it.
My grandfather was Harper Givens. He lived in the Millette area near here. His wife was Ellen Sulphur Givens. And they lived out in the country, and I'm not sure exactly where, but this is what my mother told me about his story. She said that he would always walk back from Eufaula out on these country roads to go back to the home place. And sometimes he would be walking late at night. And there was one night he was coming back, and it was really late. And so as he was walking down the road, he seen someone coming up the road in the opposite direction. And as they got closer and closer, he said, well, the night was really kind of foggy. So he said, the guy come closer, and he said, well, I guess I'm going to have to say something to him. And the guy was walking on the other rut, and he was walking on this rut. And as they started passing each other, he said, it's Jay, you stongo, you know, and then that person answered him and said, yeah, those you go, you know, or he answered him back. But he said they passed each other, and they couldn't. He said, there's something odd about this person, something really strange. And so he said, he turned around and looked, and that guy was walking off. So he bent down, and he looked under the fog. And as he was looking down under the fog, that guy was just floating in the air. He didn't have any legs. And so he was just walking off. And so my grandfather got so scared, he ran back home, and he fell on his front porch, and he passed out. And then his wife came out, and he came too, and she was looking down. My grandmother was looking down at him, and she said, what's the matter? And he told her what happened. She said, that's what you get. Donwoody, that's what you get for being out late at night. So that was his tale.
Boy, they're getting better and better out here tonight, boy. That's a good one. Let's make some more noise for these guys. All right, do we have any other storytellers out there? Right.
I was going to say, a few years ago when we had a storytelling, we took a hayride down toward Eufaula. That's down the end of this road and you turn left. And we had a pickup. My sister-in-law, Laverne, and I believe, was it Deborah was with us? Mallory. Mallory wasn't a pickup in the front, and there's people in the back. Anyway, when we was going down the road, we seen it was like a neon color on the ground. It was glowing, wasn't it? It was glowing on the little side of the hill. It's kind of like a orange and greenish, but it was like it was neon colors. But it was in the ground. Nobody could see it but us. So we kept saying, "It's right there! It's right there!" They said, "Oh, it's a reflection." And there was no moon that night, was there? There was no moon, but there was something in the ground that was glowing. It was kind of orange and kind of a bright green or neon green, but it was there in the ground. But we seen it right there on the side of the road. Like everybody else, they couldn't see it, but us three. So I don't know if it was a woman thing or what, but that's what we seen. And then a few years ago, we took another hayride down there. This time it was some people from a Fusky community joined us, and they rode in back of the pickup. We didn't have no trailer, so we all went down there. It was probably about this time. And we got down there. It's a narrow road, and because the road, that road used to go all the way to Eufaula, that back way. And this road that goes this way goes all the way to Hannah. This road back here south of us, it goes all the way to Hannah. But anyway, when we was going down toward Eufaula, we parked the truck and everybody got out. And one of the men from a Fusky community, they hooped. And so after he hooped, we took off walking. And about that time, some of us seen, it wasn't no lightning bugs. It was, like I said, it's cool as it is tonight. Little white lights started coming up from the ground. And the more we walked, it was right there by Eufaula. We was on the road. And these little white lights started coming up. And they started getting higher and higher. And somebody said, we gotta, it's time to leave. So anyway, we turned around. Nobody said anything. But like I said, it was towards Eufaula. And it's just across the field here, Eufaula is. But the little white lights were coming up out of the ground and it seemed like they were getting higher and higher. But I don't know what that meant or what it was, but to me I think it had something to do with the ground itself down there. Probably that it's still alive. You know, that's what I'm thinking, because maybe when he hooped, maybe it was welcomingness, I don't know. But, you know, like I said, nobody said anything. We just turned around and came back. But I don't know. Maybe next year we might take a ride down there if you dare to. But Eufaula is still there. And we went down there a few years ago trying to look for the ground, and we did find it. It's still there, and hopefully that we can preserve that area, because that's part of who we are. Eufaula Canadian, that's our ceremonial ground, Eufaula. And it hadn't been active, but I know too that sometimes back in the 70s they could hear people singing down there, but nobody was there. You could hear it here on this ground. So they're still there. I just want to say this one last one. This is what my mom told me. I know I've said this before, this story, but you know, maybe it had to be maybe the 40s. Eufaula used to take outings. The members would go and go out, maybe fishing. And at the time, the lake wasn't here, so they used to go over here by Millette. That's down the road from Tuskegee Church in that area. She was telling me she was a young girl. Church went out there, had an outing, and men were down there fishing. The women folks are cooking up there. I guess they had tables and stuff, and they said all of a sudden that water started going backwards. And like I said, the lake wasn't here at the time. It was that creek. And the men folks were down there fishing, and so that water started going backwards. And the men folks said, it's time to go. It's time to go. So they start picking up all their things and loading them up. I guess they had wagons back then. They were loading them up. And they kept saying, hurry, hurry, that water, was going backwards. And all of a sudden, she said, that water, it just sucked up. All that water just come together like this. And there was no water around there. And he said that's what they seen. That water it was like a drainage all of a sudden. It just got sucked up. That creek wasn't there. But I guess they always say that horned snake was there in that water, and that's what caused that. It was on its way. So it's a powerful snake. They tell me the horns that it has, it's powerful. So a lot of times that's why I don't swim no more. I don't get in that water. I said when we was younger, we didn't have no sins. We could jump in anything. But them snakes, my grandma said they're rulers of the water, like the North and South Canadian River. They've always been here, and they've always seen things. Even Lake Patrol here, Eufaula, I remember back in probably the 60s, I think his name was Champ White. He said they seen a lot of things out there on the water when they're on the boat. So there's this water is mysterious. And my dad told me that them little green turtles, he said, you see a green turtle, you take it back to the water. These little green turtles, they form whirlpools in the water. That's what my dad said. So if you see a whirlpool in the water, it's probably that little turtle, little green turtle. So take care of them. But
all right, that was pretty good. Well, we've got some good stories tonight. Let's give all our storytellers a round of applause, the ones that come up so far. Again, if you have a story that you would like to share, come on down. We've got time. We definitely want to give everybody an opportunity to tell a story. Uh-oh, we got one. Choctaw Honka.
Hello, everybody. I'm Laverne Tiger. I'm John's wife. And I'm Choctaw, and we appreciate everybody coming in, and we appreciate all the food donations, and hope everybody has a good time. And my story, it's a true story. I don't know if I should tell it, them kids might get scared. But that area back there on the wood side or that tree line, well, I'm telling off on myself, but I went to casino. John went to a meeting. He had a meeting, so I dropped him off, and then he had me run an errand in Shakota, so I went over there, and then I went to casino because he was in a meeting. So I was waiting on him, and then I started playing because I think his meeting, I don't know, went about 7, 8, 9, and so I was over there, and I was doing good and winning, so I was enjoying myself, and then before I knew it, God, it was going on about 9 o'clock, so I called John. I said, hey, can you find a ride home? I said, I'm fine. I'm having a good time winning money. And he goes, yeah, I can find a ride home. I said, okay. So I left him, and he found a ride home, and I stayed out there, and before I knew it, it was late, and I stopped and ate. I took a break, went and ate in the snack bar, and I came back, started playing again, and I was still winning, so Lady Luck was on my side, so I didn't want to quit. No. Anyway, needless to say, I didn't realize it was like 12 o'clock, and I thought, dang, I should go home. But I was still playing, and then before I knew it, 2:30 rolled around, and I thought, oh my God, it's raining outside, kind of misty, and I thought, ooh, I better head home. It's getting late. And I thought, I texted John and told him I was still out here. And then that's when, whenever I had got there, I couldn't turn his lights off with his key, or something, and I manually turned it on, Then so I had to manually turn it off. So then when I got back in to leave, it was misting and raining a little bit. So I was leaving and I was saying my little prayer, Lord, let me get home safely. Like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was coming back saying, don't let me have car trouble. And I thought, I sure don't want to be calling my honey and telling him, come bail me out. So anyway, I was on my way home and I was kind of scared, thinking, I hope I'm okay. No car. So I made it through and it was misting, raining. And I got across Lake Eufaula and I thought, ooh, I'm home safe. Then I was coming down the road and it was starting to be foggy and everything. So I thought, well, once I got on that road where you turn off coming down that dirt road, I thought, ooh, I'm safely home. I thought, I'm making it. So I came in and anyway, when I parked in front of the car, like I parked right in front of the door. And so I parked there and I got out and I had my leftover food that I didn't eat. So I brought it with me and I jumped out of the car and I thought, sometimes we hear Stigini. So I thought, oh, I hope I don't hear no Stigini walking in the door. So I grabbed my food and I walked to the door and that was about from here to where this little pole is to the house. So then I turned around and went, boop, boop, like that for the lights. And the lights didn't go off and I thought, well, and then I realized, hey, I had to manually turn it on, so I'm going to have to turn it off. So I thought, heck, okay. So I turned around, went back there, and I opened the door, and I turned to keep the lights off. Then I turned around, headed to the door. Right soon as I got to the front door, I heard from that end of those tree lines, somebody or someone or something hollered at me, and he went, "Oh!" like that. And man, I've never been scared out here. I don't get scared too easily. But anyway, I wasn't scared. I hadn't been scared, but when I heard that, man, and then as soon as I hit that door, trying to get in the door, I heard them Stiginis start squawking, and they were squawking.
Can somebody move that blue Nissan that just pulled up, that hayride's back and everything?
Oh,
they're trying to...
Can somebody move their blue Nissan, that hayride's trying to get back in? Whoever's got a blue Nissan back up here, if they'd move it, because the hayride can't come through. They're parked by the house. By the house. The hayride can't come through, whoever's got a blue Nissan. But anyway, that thing hollered at me, whatever it was. It scared me, and then when I got right to the door to open it up, man, those two Stiginis start really squawking at each other like they were talking. Man, I just jumped in and opened, closed that door and turned around. I put my food in the fridge and I thought I turned off the lights, and I went in the bedroom, took off my jewelry and went in the bedroom, and I was going right to bed. And I guess John's a light sleeper, so I was trying to not wake him up. But man, the hair was sticking up on my neck, and I thought, I never got scared around here, but whatever it was, it hollered at me, and then those Stiginis started squawking, and that's when I guess I got in bed, and John, I guess he's a light sleeper, and he said, "Are you all right?" And I thought, was that you? No, no. And I go, no. And he goes, what? I go, can them Stigini or whatever, can they sound like a man? Because it kind of sounds like those stomp dance guys that holler out like that. And that's what it sounded like a man hollered at me from over there. What, the Stigini? Anyway, but it did that, and I just jumped in bed, and that's when he goes, well, you know that's what they say when it's misting, raining, foggy, and he said, in this time of night, he said, that's when they come out. And I said, well, can they imitate? And he goes, I don't know about them Stigini, but he said, probably was something else. It was probably one of those, whatever. He said, one of them Creek words. He said, that's probably what it was, because they come out at that time of night. And that's when I told him, I said, well, I never been scared, but the hair on my neck was standing up and everything. And I jumped into bed, and I grabbed him, holding on to it. And then that's when he goes, well, heck, I guess that's what you get for coming in so late. And the next morning, he told me, well, God, you didn't even turn no porch light, you didn't turn no kitchen light. He said, you left everything on.
Oh, Mario, that was a good one. Good one. Just want to make a public announcements. I'm scared. No, tomorrow night at Porham, Oklahoma, starting at 5 o'clock, they're having a cancer awareness powwow. And this powwow is to recognize all the ones that are battling cancer, and also remember all the ones that lost their battle to cancer. So if you're not busy tomorrow night, come out to Porham and show your support, and let us try to uplift some of these individuals. You know, cancer affects us all no matter what nationality you are. Cancer doesn't discriminate, young and old, it doesn't matter. And once you got this, you know, it's a tough battle. So again, if you guys aren't busy, you know, come out and show your support. Nothing else, you know, say some prayers for these individuals. You know, they have a tough battle ahead of them. And so, anyway, you know, if you guys aren't busy, come on down tomorrow night at Porham, Oklahoma. Mado. Is there any other storytellers out there? No one once. No one twice. Any storytellers? Even if you want to tell a story about somebody's ex. No, I'm just kidding. Come on down. Come on down. All right, come on. Man, these Choctaws are coming to Creek Country telling all the stories. Where's my creeks at?
Hello, everyone. I'm glad y'all came to John and Laverne's. Oh, I don't want to be on camera. Anyway, I forgot what I was saying. You're messing me up. Anyway, hello. My name is Carla Escobar. I'm from Broken Bow, Oklahoma. John's my brother-in-law, and Laverne's my sister, and that's all my family over there. We come a long ways to come down here to help them out. Not really. Hours away. But anyway, I just wanted to say I hadn't never been up here to tell a story. I'm too shy. No. But anyway, my story's true stories too, but mine's about, I don't know, a long time ago I was kind of riding around and I wanted to go see my mom and dad, and it was kind of late at night, like 12 or 1 o'clock, and I was driving by myself, and they always say, don't drive alone, but I thought I was tough. But anyway, I was driving and getting close to my hometown, which was Wright City. Anyway, I was going down them old back roads and everything, and there's an old church that sits on the side. Anyway, I slowed down because the road was pretty bad, so I slowed down. Oh no, I was already kind of feeling weird and scary, like you said. Your hairs will stick up at the back. But when I slowed down everything, I had my windows down because it was summertime, and I could hear all the crickets and everything outside. And I said, hey, that's weird, you know, it's real quiet. When I slowed down, I felt something like get in the back of the car, and my car just felt like it way down. And I said, oh God, it's one of them, somebody's in my car. And I was all alone, and like he said, don't look in the rear mirror. Boy, I didn't want to look in the mirror, and I didn't, because I was scared. So I said, hey. And I was just going slow, and it kept doing that, just like something was in the back seat. All my hair stood up, and I said, oh shoot. Anyway, I got this weird feeling, and feel like something was pulling on my hair. My hair was long. It seemed like something was pulling the back of my hair, and I kept doing like this. But I still slowed down. When I was pulling up like that, I felt a weird feeling. Feel like something was breathing at my ear on this side. Anyway, I was real scared. And something whistled so loud in my ear, and boy, I just like got scared. My foot just hit the gas, and boy, I took off. And I don't know, I must have been flying. I got home real quick. My mom and dad were sitting outside, and boy, I jumped out of the car and ran to they were sitting outside on the porch, and I was like out of breath. And I was scared. And she said, dang, what's wrong with you? You look like you seen a ghost. And I didn't know what to say, and I told her I heard something. She said that to me too. What you doing riding around late at night anyway, you know? But that's a true story. Something did scare the heck out of me. And I never went out by myself again. Anyway, that's my story. It's true too.
Appreciate it.
All right, let's make some more noise for her. All right, I got another story to tell you guys. Again, sometimes I like some of these stories that were being told, and it kind of reminded me of a story that, kind of hit home to me. I grew up with this friend of mine. He was also in Muskogee Creek. And we grew up together in Okmulgee, and, we always had a good relationship. We grew up together, and we had our first kids together. He had a daughter, and I had a daughter about the same time. Our kids kind of played together, and anyway, he ended up moving off. And he moved to Minnesota, and him and his little family, they moved up there, and he was going to school, and they had a good life, up there. I guess his little girl was out there riding on her little tricycle one evening, and a drunk driver was coming through the parking or through the neighborhoods and hit her and took her like that. Real quick, and, of course, the family, him and his wife, they were very sad about that. It hit home, and I remember him calling me, telling me the news about his daughter, and, to me that, it hit me too, because I had a daughter, same age and stuff, and, I thought about that, and anyway, I wasn't able to go up there for the funeral or anything like that, but, I always called him and, checked on him and his wife, and, of course after that, sometimes that can be hard on a young family, losing a child like that, and so, time's gone by, and, I got to travel around, and I knew he was up there, and I got a job that sent me up there to that area, and I told him, I was going to come by and visit, and, check on him and see how things were going. And, by this time, his wife had, already went back home, and he was still up there working, trying to go on with life, and he was really having a tough time. He didn't have very many folks back home. His folks had passed away. We both had older folks. And so, he had already lost both his mother and father. And, again, I tried to go and visit him. And, I went to his house. And, he put me up in one of his rooms, and he was talking about his daughter. And he said, her room, after she passed away, a lot of those old time creeps, they used to get rid of everything, give some stuff away, but most of the personal items, they would burn them, and that's what he did, so her room was empty. There was nothing in there. He wasn't going to put anything else in that room. And he told me, he said, I really miss her. I'm really having a tough time. And I know sometimes she comes and sees me. And I talk with her, and, I tell her, everything's okay. And, sometimes she acts like she's confused, and, she's very sad. And again, me being a young man, I'm trying to comfort him, say some good words like my folks used to say, when someone's in that way, you try to uplift their spirit. Sometimes the only thing you can do is pray with them and pray for them. So, I tried to pray for him, and, I was visiting with him, and I was staying a couple of days with him to, just kind of try to cheer him up. And he would tell me those stories that, she's still around. you know, and so one of these nights, you know, we were sitting in there in his kitchen, you know, we were sitting there just kind of talking, and, you know, he was talking about her, and anyway, in that room, the room door was open, and I began to hear a toy box play. And if you ever hear those toy boxes, they have that kind of eerie tune anyway. But, you know, I said, "Did you hear that?" He goes, "Yeah, that's her." And he said, "She's in her room." And, you know, he said, "You know, I told you she comes and sees me, you know, periodically." You know, and, you know, of course, I went in that room and turned the light on, and there was no toy box, there was no furniture, there was nothing in that room. Anyway, you know, I was kind of puzzled at that. So, of course, I turned the light off and went back into the kitchen, and we were sitting there, and, you know, I was trying to tell him, you know, sometimes they used to say, if you mourn too much, that can be bad. You know, you're calling these individuals and you're making them come back where they should be able to go. And so I was just kind of trying my best to, you know, say it in a good way, in a good manner. And I was facing that room, and I saw a little shadow walk right by that door. And it was the shape of a little girl. And I told him, I said, "You know, we have ways of dealing with stuff like that. You know, I think you need to come home and let us take care of you, you know, and do the things that we need to help you. Otherwise, you know, they say that mourning too much will make you sick." You know, and with that being said, you know, he kind of said, "You know, I know all that stuff." He said, "But, you know, I don't want to do that. You know, if she wants to come home, I want to let her come home. If she's comfortable here, you know, I don't want to send her on her way." You know, that's how much, you know, he cared for her. But I told him, I said, "You know, that's really not healthy, you know, mentally. You know, our old folks used to say, you know, that's kind of no good. You know, but, you know, if that's what he wanted, you know, that's all I could say. You know, I didn't want to hurt his feelings." So, to make a long story short, you know, after the visit, you know, of course, I prayed for him before I left, you know, and gave him some items that might help him, you know, and anyway, I came back, went to work, and, you know, time went on, and, you know, every now and then I'd call him, check on him, and kind of the same thing, you know, he'd talk about his daughter, and, you know, how, you know, rough, you know, he's having it, how much he misses her, and, you know, wish she could be, you know, whole again, and that, you know, she comes to him, and, you know, he tries his best to comfort her, you know, and as time goes by, you know, his stories about his daughter become longer and longer. You know, they're having more interaction. Then one day out of the blue, he called me. He said, "My daughter came to me and told me she's going to take me home." You know, and he said, "What do you think about that?" And I said, "Well, you know, again, I don't think, you know, you should be mourning her this long. This has been years and years. But, you know, again, I know we all mourn differently. You know, but I said, you know, the only thing I can say is come home and, you know, let them take care of you here. You know, we got ways of dealing with that, you know." And again, you know, he said, "Well," he said, "to be honest," he said, "you know, if she wants to take me, I will let her take me." And so, anyway, I didn't hear from him for a long time. And then, you know, I was checking on him, and I was calling him, and, you know, the number was no good no more. It was disconnected. And so, you know, I called up to his work just to, you know, check on him. see if he was all right. And his coworker notified me that, he had passed away. And so, anyway, I know there's things out there that we cannot explain. And that's another one of my stories. But anyone else have a story out there? Anybody? All right.
Hello, my name is Haley. So I really experienced some scary stuff in my life. So I think my house is haunted because I was just watching TV one day. My mother was sleeping, and we have this chair with some kind of massager thing that massages your back and stuff. And there was heavy stuff on it that was really making it put weight on the massager. And I was just watching TV with my door closed. There was a loud bang, so my dog started barking at it. So I had to let him out, see what it was, and I noticed the back massager actually fell, so I was really confused of what actually happened. And my dog started barking and running to the kitchen like someone was there. So I was like, what are you barking at? And my mother woke up wondering what the noise was, so she went to go check. And we were scared and stuff, but we picked it up, and soon as we knew, my dogs kept barking at the kitchen, but we really didn't know what it was, so we never found out.
Motto, appreciate that. All right. These youngsters got some good stories, but dang, I can't even stand. No. Eating too much back there. You guys come up here and finish that food off. I'm going to run my sugar up way high. Anyway, is there any more storytellers out there?
Let me tell these people something, just one thing.
A while ago, Christus came up to me, wanted to buy Arden. And we made a deal with him. He said, my money's in the car. I said, okay, I'll go get your money. And that was a true story.
God, I thought he was going to really tell something scary. Yeah.
I got about 6 blankets here, compliments from Edward and Lisa Doctor. So if some elderly or some kids, I got 6 of them. So if y'all want to come get them.
All right. We're going to have a race. No, I'm just kidding. Anybody need a blanket? Now, be sure not to come up with a new husband with that blanket. Got that real good hidgy on it.
You know, back in the old days, we didn't have no TV or telephone or radio, barely. And I don't know how many of y'all remember, these elderly, they used to visit these relatives, and they sit around and tell stories. Do y'all remember that? Anyway, I knew a lot of them, but I'm going to tell y'all one of them. They was telling one time that these 5 people and the medicine man, they was going to show them how to make a medicine. And this elderly lady's house where they were at, he had a little boy like about 6 years old. And they try to wait till he goes to sleep, and this little boy, he wouldn't sleep. And they said, oh, he won't know nothing. He said, let's go ahead and start it. And one of them said, I don't know now. He said he's been living with his grandma all his life. And the other one said, nah, I don't think he'll know anything. He's too small. So anyway, they decided to start making medicine past midnight. So these 5 people gathered around, and his medicine man and all, and he said, well, I'm going to show y'all how to make a medicine. So they put those handkerchiefs down and put some little tobacco on top of it, and they were in a circle. And that little boy got up and went in the house and got him a handkerchief and took some of her grandma's tobacco and put it on that handkerchief. And every time they say something, he'd be repeating it and start staring at it just like the other ones did. And this went on, and about the 4th time, about 3 o'clock, they took a break, and that little boy went in the house and came back, and they was on their last one. And he said, okay, we're going to make the last one, and that medicine should start working. And this is how you do it. And everybody said, okay, and the little boy said, yeah, okay, I got it. And that little boy sat down there, and every time what that medicine man was saying, they were stirring this tobacco. And so was that little boy saying a word and stirring this tobacco. And when they got through with it, he said, it should be working now. And everybody said, how will we know? Oh, it's working. He said, y'all got to have it or y'all don't. If it's working, y'all should know. They said, okay, and nobody didn't pay attention to it because it was their first time. And the little boy said, I know mine's working. He just started staring at it and staring at it. They started looking at that little boy, and his handkerchief started kind of going up and down. And they kind of started getting scared. One of them said, I thought you said that little boy didn't know anything. I said, that's what I said too. He said, that medicine man kind of got scared too. He said, I don't know what he's doing, but look at his medicine, it's working. And they look at their handkerchief, and nobody feels that medicine working, but that little boy, he said, I know mine's working, and that little handkerchief started going like that. And he said, when they got through with it, they said, can't y'all feel it working or not? And nobody said anything. When that little boy said, I could feel mine working. Boy, they seen that little handkerchief, and everybody started getting scared. And they got scared of that little boy. and he said, when they finished that medicine, making all night, staring that medicine, that little boy was staring that tobacco along with it, but his medicine started working. His little handkerchief started moving around, and everybody was looking at his handkerchief, and that little boy said, I know mine's working. Look here. Everybody got scared because his handkerchief was moving around, and the rest of them wasn't. That little boy said, I could really feel it. And they started looking at him scared. And he said, well, they said, here he goes. And they all had working all night making their medicine. They had their tobacco where they stirred up and finished that medicine, and they had it all on a handkerchief. And they were sitting around, and that little boy, he let go of the handkerchief, and the handkerchief started going around like that. Everybody got scared. They didn't know what to say. They started crawling around and going over that log and everything. And they said, wake us, quit it, like that. And that little boy just stood there and looking at his handkerchief going up there and going to everybody. And everybody was jumping around going up this way. And they started going to the medicine man. The medicine man jumped off that log. He went the other way. They watched that little boy in the pit like that, and the handkerchief was going like that, going over the log and everything. And they were crying around and trying to crawl, and they started crying. He said, quit it. He said, wake us. And he said, my medicine's going to kill y'all. They kind of believed that little boy because the medicine was chasing after all those guys, and that medicine made he was going all over. And that little boy was going around like that, looking at his handkerchief, falling down handkerchief. And that thing was jumping up and down. And he said, move. He said, like he followed those people crawling around, and that handkerchief was jumping around like that. they finally got in the pit, and they're all laying around there looking at the little boy. And he ruined all their medicine, but he has, everybody jumped up and working all out on that medicine. They ruined that medicine, and they just, that handkerchief went everywhere, and I don't know where that tobacco went, but they weren't there either. But that little boy, handkerchief with that little tobacco, just going like that, going all the way around like that. And you could hear that medicine man maker. He said, "Y'all got to give him something for that medicine before he quits." He said, and they start digging in their pocket. They didn't know what they had, but they had a bunch of change in their pocket. He said, "Quit it, quit it." He said, "Wake us." He said, "Hurry up." And they start throwing their coins out there. Boy, they start digging into their pocket and throwing coins and everything out there. And the little boy, I said, "Y'all got to give him something for that medicine before he quits." So they start throwing all their coins, and that little boy, that little handkerchief just keeps going around like that, and they're out there looking at it, see what's going on. He starts picking up these coins and starts sticking them in his pocket, in all four pockets, and he had bunch of coins in his pocket, and finally that little handkerchief went out in the middle, and he went out there with him. He said, "How you want to hear these movies?" He said, "Right now," he said, "that medicine has done his job and done what it's supposed to." So he said, then he finally, that little boy was finished, and they were out there looking at his script. So when this little boy picked up his medicine, he had a little mouth under there. I won't tell you some more, but I know we got a lot of people that want to tell a story, but that's some of the old tale people used to tell. Anyway, about Harper Given. I grew up when I was about 6 years old. I went to Hillary Church and Harper Given, and there were elderly people. And they went to chop this wood for the church house in Harper and Brutus Washington and Robert Gibbons and Eufaula Gibbons and Eufaula Davis, and I don't know who all they were, but they were chopping for church. So they went to south of Hillary Church, where that reservation was. This is where Brutus Washington lived, and they went to chop a wood for the church house. And Harper tell things that they seen, and it was real cold, and they chopped up the wood, and as they were sitting around taking a break, this little round thing, they said it was about the size of a tub, but back then you didn't hardly hear it, but I think it was a flying saucer. And it landed right where they were sitting around, and they didn't know what it was. They were looking at it. And these little people, they were about like that, got out of that little tub like, and they gave him a little pieces of a little bitty chunk of cake like. He said, when you eat it, he said, it was real sweet, but you could get full. I said, I wouldn't eat it. But anyway, they didn't know what it was. They sat there and looking at it, and those little figures, they got in that, I guess it was a flying saucer, and they said it took off. And this was back in 1959, I remember that one. 58, I remember that one. I was 5 years old, yeah. And Harper said they went to squirrel hunting, and they were going north of Hillary Church, where that river was. And as they were walking through there was a old abandoned two-room house with a weed all over it, and they thought they heard something in there. So they walked in there, and when they walked in there, he said there were 5 people, little taller than normal-sized people. But back then, I guess you never heard about Bigfoot and things like that. And they thought it was an escapee from McAllister State Prison. when they walked in there, he said they were mumbling something, but they couldn't understand them. But he said, these people, he said, they didn't have no clothes on. He said they had a hair all over their body. And you could smell them. And they thought it was an escapee from McAllen State Prison a long time ago. But after I started thinking back, about almost so many years back, but I kind of think they ran into a Bigfoot. And that was about it. But as far as those old Indian tales, I know about 50 of them, because I used to sit around there with Dad and them when they come around there telling stories. And I used to thought nothing of it at the time, but when I sat around and started thinking back, I thought it was funny about that little boy in that mouse.
All right, we've got a special storyteller tonight, all the way from Wisconsin. Ho-Chungla, I guess. Sandy Scott. Come on down. He said he's got that Ho-Chungla story tonight.
Nebraska.
Oh, Nebraska. All right, here you go.
Good to see you, brother. Good to see your podcast all the time. I would say good evening to everybody, too. My name is Sandy Scott, and originally from here. I grew up here ever since I was a little bitty boy. My dad was Sandy Scott. His mom and dad was Benny Buckskin Scott and Susie Kosar. And so, yeah, that's where I grew up at, right here. And where it all started like that, too. And just want to say I want to thank John and Laverne for opening up their house to us tonight, for everybody coming together. And also for Christopher Honka-Heel for hosting the show tonight, too. Always listen to his podcast like that, too. Very interesting. And Spirit Talkers like that, too. And just wanted to have a few shout-outs out there, too. My Auntie Chalk, she's over here. And we got 4 generations over there. Her daughter, her son, and her son's just had a brand new baby not too long ago, too. So just want to say that to them, too. And all my other relatives that are here, too. My cousin Spy. And also came down with my sister and also my daughter, too, Tommy Lee Scott. It's the first time she's ever been down here. And she's, what, 14, 15? Which one? Anyway, she got to come down. So her first time being here in Oklahoma, too. So you guys give her a round of applause, too. And like that, too. And also to my sister, too, and her son, and he brought his 2 kids down, too. And also another shout out to her. She just told me, too, on the way down, too, her daughter is getting her master's degree in December. And she's 32 years old, so, you know, that's an accomplishment right there, too. Also, too, like I said, it's good to have everybody come together like this, too. And I think I was down here maybe about 4 years ago. And so we've always wanted to come back like that, too. And so finally got to come down here and you know, hang out with everybody, too. And also, too, he's on the spooky ride, too. And there's somebody out there that's got a 50-year wedding anniversary and a 51-year coming up, too. I don't know. I just overheard them talking about that, too. So, you know, that's a blessing right there, too. You know, 50 years plus like that, too. So you guys give them a round of applause, too. I think it's awesome. Is that over here? Yeah. All right. So anyway, like I said, I grew up here like that, too. And, you know, we come from a really diverse family like that, too. And we've got, so my cousin over here is pastor. His son is a highway patrol guy. And got my aunt over here, her daughter, she's a teacher. My sister's an EMT. And my cousins and stuff, too. We got, you know, lawyers and people still going to school and mechanics. You know, I'm a musician. John Mark, he's an artist like that, too. So really come from a strong, you know, background like that, too. And really diverse like that, too. And really push education like that, too. And So, like I said, my scary story, it started with right down the road by the mailbox back in '86. I just graduated high school that year, and it was summertime. And this is before I moved up to Winnebago, Nebraska. And so it was summertime, and so my brother's got a house right over here in the next field over here. But we stayed over here at my grandma's house because we didn't have no electricity. He didn't pay the bill, whatever, so we stayed over here. So it's, you know, typical Indians. But anyway, I remember it was a Friday night because we were getting ready to go to town and hang out with our friends and stuff. So anyway, the sun was just going down, and I told him, I was like, hey, can I borrow your truck? I need to run over to the house and, you know, get some clean clothes. And he's like, yeah, go ahead. So anyway, I did. So I jumped in his truck and went over here to the house and went in and grabbed some clothes like that too. And, you know, so before the sun went down so I could see. And so anyway, I got my clothes, jumped back in his truck. And so like I said, summertime, and was coming back down the road and got down by the mailbox on the mail road, on the, right there on the dirt road. And so I had the window down on the passenger side and my side, and I was listening to the radio. I was just cruising along like that too. And out of the corner of my eye, I seen like a big hairy arm reach in to grab me, and this all happened like in a split second. And I know that's what I seen, and like I said, it just happened like that. I seen something reach in to grab me, and when I looked, it was gone. And man, every hair on my body stood up like that too, and I punched that, you know, gas down on the truck, and I hauled ass down this road and parked it, and I jumped out and I ran in the front door, and my brother was there, and it was Big John, and come running in. I said, hey, Big John. I said, man, something tried to grab me, man. He said, what? And I said, I was just cruising down the road, and I said, I swear to God, man, I said, I've seen a big hairy arm reach in to grab me, and when I looked, I said, it was gone. And, you know, and I was all shook up like that too. And so anyway, we got ready and we went to town like that too, and I pointed out to where it was like that too. So, you know, on the way down, we listened to these, you know, podcasts about Bigfoot and stuff like that, to where, you know, there's different ones out there that can do different things, you know, with medicine or whatever. And so what I got to thinking too was, you know, was that the one of the kind that cloaked itself? Or maybe it was a portal or something like that too, and I just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, you know. And so like I said, that happened back in '86 when I was 18, and, you know, that's something you never forget like that too. And just like I said, you know, it was always scary coming home at night by yourself like that too. And just like Laverne said, you'd park your car and, you know, run in the house real quick like that too, because you never know what's out there, you know. And yeah, so, but yeah, like I said, so I grew up like that too. And, you know, we've seen some stuff around here too, but not, you know, not as bad as my brother's house over there. And I don't know what it is, or just the land or whatever, but I just could never, it was always an uneasy feeling over there, and we'd always see stuff, you know, spirits in the house and just different things like that too. And, you know, even, like I said, coming over here talking to John Mark, and he would come over to the house and hang out. You know, I'd come down to visit my brother, and he'd bring his guitar over, and so it was me and John Mark and my brother, Big John. And so we'd start to visit like that too. And so then pretty soon John Mark would start telling his scary stories. And so, you know, they're always really interesting like that too, to hear too. And, you know, little people, Bigfoot and all that. And then he'd get ready to go home. So I got to go home now, you know. And so he would leave. And I always hated that, because when he left, man, I was like, oh man, you know, you got these fresh stories in your head, and I thought, no, I ain't gonna be able to sleep tonight. Then my brother, he would go in his room and, you know, close his door, and he'd go to bed. So there I am, you know, wide awake watching TV and just scared like that too. And I would, you know, I wouldn't sleep in the bedroom. I'd always sleep on the couch front room with the TV on like that too, and even then I was just kind of, you know, getting cat naps, kind of looking around like that too, and because, you know, like I said, you never know what's out there like that too, and so yeah, so like I said, it's, you know, we as Native people like that too, there's you know, it's part of our ways like that too, you know, spiritual ways, and some stuff we can't explain, whatever, you know, and just like I said, you know, growing up, my grandma, she was always telling us stories like that too, and you know, not to scare us, but just to tell us. And I always look back now and wish that I had paid more attention to these stories, you know, so I could pass them on like that too. And, you know, because like I said, when an elder passes away, that's a lot of knowledge that, you know, is gone forever like that too. You know, the teachings, the language, all that, you know. So, it's like I said, you know, it's good for everybody to, you know, to come together in a good way like that too, and, you know, to enjoy themselves and celebrate and, you know, be with family, you know, because that's where it's at like that too. And because usually, you know, like I said, we always get together when it's a funeral or something, you know. So I was just telling my sister too that, you know, like I said, kind of made it a priority to come down this year like that too. And so I'm glad we did, you know, everything worked out like that too. So anyway, that's about all I got to say too. And I got some more scary stories too, but like I said, I'll get back up here. Thanks, guys.
Oh, good one. All right. The Creeks are in the house tonight. Am I right? All right. I'm calling my next storyteller. She's full-blooded over here. And getting ready to call her out right now. I'm going to say, Yaki! Yeah.
She said she wouldn't come up here unless I come up here. Well, both of them. I don't even know who they are, but they can always follow me around. My name is Mike Hartdale, and I'm from Ojibwa Hickory Ground, Ceremonial Ground, and I come out here every year. It's good to come out and visit Eufaula Canadian. Been hanging around with these guys, and I come out here. I've been coming out here for a while. Anytime they get, you know, I know their ceremonial ground is dormant or whatever, but, you know, it's good to see them get together and still remember who they are, and it's good to support them. They have events like this. Anyways, I got a couple stories I'll tell. Long time ago, had a real pretty girlfriend, and she told me a story about her and her husband. Before me, she had a husband. He's the one that I stole her from. A white guy. Hey. No, I'm just playing. I didn't do that. But anyways, her and her husband had they were living together, and one day there was a cat that come around the house, and you know, she was telling me about her and her husband, you know, when they were married, and I'd be go over there. I was getting jealous and didn't want to hear no more. Nah, I'm just playing. No, they had a cat come around, a stray cat, and the cat was always you know how they rub around on your legs and stuff like that, and she started feeding it, or trying to feed it, give it water or something, and she invited it into the house, and that cat would always lay on her legs and stuff when she was sitting back watching TV, and she just pat it and stuff, and even whenever they got time to go to sleep and they go into the bedroom, and you know, that cat would get right beside her, lay beside her. And when her husband would come in, that cat would hiss at him and stuff. And that cat didn't like her husband getting too close to her. Well, it would leave, you know, like in that morning time. It'd come back that night time, watch TV with her, I guess, whatever, and, you know, sleep with them. Well, one night, they heard it meowing, and they let it in the house, and they were watching TV, and next thing you know, this cat, it jumped up, walked down the hallway, and there was a light. It was a lamp. And when that cat walked past that lamp, they looked. They seen a shadow of a man walking down the hallway. They both looked at each other, and that husband went back and got that cat and threw it outside. Yeah, I know. That was before me. When we got together, we was madly in love, and at the end we was just mad. Hey. Nah, she wasn't ruining my girlfriend. I mean, she was, but she didn't know it. Nah, there was another time, I was with my girlfriend this time, and we was riding around dirt roads, and we had like a 30-pack of Kool-Aid, and we was drinking Kool-Aid, and I had to pee. So I told her to stop, and I got out, and I was peeing, and I heard something heavy, like walking on this road. And I turned around and I looked, and it was about like this, and it was a full moon, so I couldn't see the inside of the face, but it had like thin hair, and you could see the outline of it from the moonlight, and it was just shiny. Long hair all the way, even on the shoulders and everything. But I seen it, and it scared me. And I took off running, and I jumped in the car, and I told my girlfriend, "Go, go, go, go!" And we left. Man, we were flying down the road. And that was whatever that was. I know my elders has always told me about it. And I seen it. I don't care if nobody believes me or not, but I seen it. I go back to where I was on that road when I was peeing. When I heard it and I turned around and looked, he was pointing at me, giggling, So when I ran to the car, I was scared and mad at the same time, But I got one more. I had a friend, and she lived out in the woods, and they had a pasture, and they had horses. And even times she would go out and call them horses out. And there was one stubborn one, kept walking. She kept hollering at that horse, and it just went down a hill, and it was getting even time, and it went back up a hill, and she kept hollering at it, and that horse wouldn't come back. And finally, I don't know where that horse, she said she didn't know where that horse went. And when she come up on the hill, she seen a whole bunch of snakes. They were all in a circle. But there was one big snake, and he was standing up about like that. He was a big snake. And when she seen that big snake, it was talking to all those other ones. They was having a meeting, and it scared her. So she ran back, told her grandpa about it. Her grandpa had to make medicine. She had to wash off the medicine. What he had said was, all these animals, it's just like at the ceremonial ground. We have our Miko, our chief. Sometimes you got to get the people together, and you have to have meetings about things. And the animals are the same thing, same way. Whether it's a raccoon, snake, coyote, whatever, they have a chief. Same as the people does. So you might walk through these woods and see these raccoons or coyotes or whatever you see out there. They're not just regular wild animals. They have a system just like we do. They have their Miko, they have their Hilitayas, and all that. So they're not just wild animals. But you're not supposed to see that stuff. You see that stuff, you have to go to the medicine man and wash off. All these animals, wolves and coyotes or whatever, they all get together. And they have meetings like that. But you don't know that. You're not supposed to see that stuff. And so, I heard that story, and I've talked to some of my other elders, and they told me the same thing. So these animals ain't just wild animals out here, you know. They're just like us. They're just like people. You know, I was sitting back there, and you know, they always talk about that Bigfoot. You know, when they come around, you start smelling a real stink smell, and sometimes it would go away when I was sitting back there, and then it would come back. But every time it went away is whenever Salem was over here, was the one that took it to you. And when she came back, the smell came back. All right, yeah, that's all.
I know he is mean. So my name is Shaylin Proctor. So I have a story. Whenever I was younger, at this one old house that I used to live at years ago, I was probably like 12 or 13, and I was laying down on the recliner, and it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and there was like this bench right in front of me, and whenever I was trying to wake up, I couldn't move my body, and so I could only open my eyes, only a little bit, and I saw this little girl. She had like this yellow dingy looking shirt and some wild hair in the front, and I couldn't really see her face, and I still couldn't move my body, but she was sitting down on that bench staring at me, and I've never experienced that before, so it kind of scared me, and I didn't even tell like my dad or anything because I thought I was going crazy. And so then years later, I was like in high school. It's still in the same house. One of my cousins, she does not know about this story that I saw, and she said that she had a dream, and she woke up and she got scared, and she told my aunt that the dream was she saw a little girl that I saw, and she was sitting behind me and try to like look at her, but she couldn't see the face or anything. She had she described the same exact thing, and so my aunt asked me if I told her that story, and I said no, I didn't, and she didn't even know about it, of what I saw. And so I don't know if that little girl hopped in her story, in her dream or what, but she saw the same exact thing that I saw. Yeah. And that was it. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Okay, I'm ready. This happened years and years ago. My brother, he had a girlfriend at the time, and he wanted to talk about her after midnight. He said, let's go outside and talk about her. He said, I want to talk to you about something. I said, why can't this wait till daylight? He said, no, let's go outside. So we went outside, and my dad was up. He was watching the news. We're outside talking, and we're living in town. And there was like 3 vehicles outside. And my brother was talking to me, and we heard the noise. We looked at one another, and he just kept on talking. Then a few minutes later, we heard that same noise again, and it got louder. We looked at each other again, and he said, you ever heard that noise before? I said, no. Then he continued. And when he continued, that noise, it got even louder. So we looked at each other and looked under, he said, let's look under the vehicles. So we did. There was nothing around the vehicles. I said, let's just go in. He said, hold on. He said, you hear that? We heard noises rustling around the bushes. I happened to look up. We have a pillar, and I was standing behind it. And my brother, he was not too far from me, but he wasn't standing behind one. And there was security light beaming, just like that. There was a big old tree. There was something that was really, really tall. It was so big that when it rose up, you can see wings. Wings that can wrap around a house. It can cover the whole house. And all I had to do was step outside the pillar. But I stood back because I thought to myself real quick, if I step out, this is something I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. So I'd rather not see that image because the wings was good enough. But my brother, he wasn't so lucky. He saw it. And I had to wake him up because he was out of it. So we ran in the door. He was beating me on my back, telling me to open the door. And I bust open that door, and my dad said, "Hey, what are y'all doing?" We told him what we heard. And he said, "It could be a dog." He said, "Y'all quit being scared. Being hot." But no, I'll always remember that. The wings was shaped like gargoyle wings. They were really big. But that's about it.
I was over there a while ago, and I was kind of getting scared. I heard like a real long, almost sound like something growling. I turned around and looked, and it was coming back from Shaylin's back of her pants.
Mado. Good job, guys. Good job. All right, I think we got another storyteller from down that way. Coming from the woods. Here you go.
Hello, my name's Christy, and this is where my grandma lived. John's my first cousin. So this summer I took a trip to Colorado, and we were at Breckenridge, and we couldn't find a hotel, so we said, well, let's head back towards Colorado Springs, and we'll find a hotel. So the town in between where we were was called Fairplay, and I called the first hotel on there, and it was called the Hand Hotel, so I should have known right then. So we pull in, and she said, "You're in luck. We have one more room left." And so we'll stay open late till y'all get here. So we get there, and you walk in, and it's got antiques. It's been around for 150 years, and it just looks creepy. But then we signed in, and she said, and the Wi-Fi password is haunted hotel. And I said, wait, what? And she just kept on going, and she said, and here's where breakfast is. And so she just ignored my question. And so we went upstairs, and our room was called Grandma Hand. So it was the room. It was named after the grandma. And there were 2 twin beds, like in I Love Lucy, I guess. So we went to bed, and there was a storm that night, and it was hailing, and there was no electricity. There was no AC, because in Colorado, I guess a lot of the old places don't have air conditioning. And so we went to bed, and a storm came up, and it was hailing. So my husband got up and shut the window. And I wake up, and I think, it's 3 in the morning. I think, oh my gosh, I've got to go to the bathroom. But to go to the bathroom, I have to walk past the window, past the mirror, past the closet, past the door, past another mirror, past the shower curtain. So I just laid there and waited till morning. But when I got up the next morning, I looked over to where I had taken my jewelry off, like I always do. I have silver, and I took off my silver. Then I have my wedding ring that I never take off because I can't even get it off, and especially up in the high altitude. And so I look over, and I was going to put my jewelry on, and there's all my silver and my ring. And I said, well, that's weird. And I kind of thought, well, that's unusual. Because, we all have our habits of what we do every night, and it's, our usual, what we always do. And I never take this off, and in fact, I couldn't even get it back on because it fits so tight. And I thought, well, that's really strange. How did that get over there from my finger across the room? So I mentioned it to the manager the next morning. And he said, what room were you in? And I said, the one, Grandma's room. And he said, yeah, we've had a lot of incidences like that pertaining to jewelry. I guess there'd be women who never take their earrings off, and they would find it across the room in strange places, Same thing, another one would leave, always put their jewelry here, and she found it somewhere across the room. So just the thought of someone or something, you know, holding my hand and taking it off, it's just kind of creepy. But yeah, that's one of my stories. My other one, let's see. Oh, I have one more. My cousins have probably heard this a million times, but like I said, this was my grandma's house, and yeah, it's really dark. Like we never did this. We never came out after dark. After dark, you're in the house, and so I was here, and my cousins all lived here, and I was probably 12 or so, and I had 5 cousins that lived here at my grandma's house, and the boys were all gathered around the window, and they were looking out the window. And me and my cousin Cindy, she's a year older than me, we walk in, and they said, "What are y'all looking at?" And they said, and they're all crowded around one window in the living room, and they were looking out that way. And I said, "What are y'all looking at?" And they said, "There's something out there." And they said, and Cindy's like, Where? Let me see." And they said, "Go look out the other window." So we go over to the other window, and she threw open the curtain, and she just, she screamed. And they had put a Cyclops mask in the window out there. and that's my story.
Let's make some more noise for all these storytellers. Yeah, we got some good stories tonight. All right, do we have any other storytellers out there? Anybody got anything? Come on up. Even if you got gossip, we'll listen to that too.
Well, I got some juicy gossip, and you're it. No. I tell you what, growing up on this ground, and even at the old house next to the road down here, all our visitors were elders. So I grew up around a lot of elder people, and hardly any kids with them, but that's all right. But anyway, my grandmother was telling me, anyway, I don't know how we got on the subject, but she tells me things. And some of you locals, do y'all remember where Mountain View School is? Okay, on that road to that corner to West Eufaula where it dips down, used to be a low water bridge there. There was, people that parked there in the dark. And Stehetsky people, they was talking, and the teenagers, hanging out. They would hear this baby crying in the woods, just south of there, at night. And they listened, and that baby was crying. And I think my sister brought it up to her. She says, because my sister hung out down there too, I guess. I don't know. I ain't going to say that. But anyway, the students, the school kids hear that, and it gets, you hear it. And she says, well, you know what? Just down by that Mountain View School, there used to be an old cabin down there. And then there was a lady that lived in that cabin. She was a witch. She was a witch, and her mother knew her. And she couldn't keep back. She could have babies, but she couldn't keep them. And so when she had babies, she'd stick that baby up in that old dead tree in the backyard, down by the creek. You stick that baby up in that tree, it would die there. And anyway, she said she'd fly around at night. She'd fly, not like Superman, but on her back. Her face would be facing the sky. That's how she'd get around. And I've heard stories of my Cherokee friends talking about stuff like that up around the Cherokee Nation. But anyway, she said that's no wonder they hear that baby crying that night because of what took place, and you hear that baby crying all the time. You may still hear it this day. And there's another story about Tuskegee's church over here west of us. I don't know if anybody know where Tuskegee Church is, but they have a spring across the road. And I was told by the elder man that one time there was the spring it has a little wall around it, but it's spring. It's a well. And that's where they used to get their water for church. They'd come down on a wagon and put their barrels and put, load those barrels up with that spring water. And one time, one of the older ministers was walking down there with a water pail, and he was walking towards that spring. It's like looking at that fire there. It's round like that, and it's kind of level to the ground. But he said it was something. He looked at it. He said, looks like a lizard man, or looked like a gargoyle. And he was getting that water out with his hand, and scooping it up with his hand and drinking it like that. He drank, and he said that he had seen that thing there, and he said it was a gargoyle drinking that, lizard man drinking that. And then he said that water source is important, water source for all the animals around there, because he said sometimes you could hear a lion growling down there. You like at the zoo, you hear a lion, at a distance, you could hear it growl. They could hear one down there around that water. I guess it was so dry that he was I guess he thought that water was his. But that's another story that they used to tell my elders. Another one is, sometimes we're sitting out here, and I'm just sitting outside. This road that goes from Hannah to down this way, used to go all the way to Eufaula on that dirt road. Anyway, you could hear a wagon right over. Remember, I don't know if you ever heard of a wagon, the old covered wagon sound. You could hear it creaking along that road right over here. You could hear the wheels turning and creaking, and at night. Now our good friend across the way here is a farmer. His name was Eston Harris. He had a wagon like that. Now I know what it sounds like, but he wouldn't be out here 11 midnight at night. He would go down this road by us, and it quit right over there toward Johnny's house. It just wouldn't go past that. And another one is when Johnny Scott, I guess they seen a kangaroo. They looked out that window, and I guess his daughters looked out that window. There was a kangaroo outside, and he didn't believe it. And I guess he Googled it, sightings of kangaroo in Oklahoma. He said, yeah, there's been sightings of kangaroo in Oklahoma. And it was outside of their window over there. I don't think he's seen it, but them girls seen it. Another one is right over here behind my back to the northwest. There's our kinfolks buried over there too, the Scotts, and Dan Scott's family. He's got some people over there too. Used to, and Katie Scott had a newborn that died. Or maybe just, I don't know about newborn, it maybe lived a week and they buried it. And so she just tore her up. And she couldn't hardly quit mourning. She could not quit crying, so he took her out there to that gravesite. And he dug her up. Just to satisfy her. And he pulled her up and pulled that baby up, and she hugged it one time, and he had to put it back in the ground. Put the baby back in the ground and covered her up. Not long after that, she passed. And that's why he was widowed most of his life. He was the oldest of my grandpa's brothers. No, I think he was, or John, one of them, John Scott, one of them, they were the older ones. Another one is my grandpa at the old house down here. He would stay up late night. I told you about he was a typist. He liked to publicize the buckskin. He'd stay up at late night doing that. And he'd step outside and he looked toward the mountain up here. And there was a light from the top of that mountain that went down the side of that mountain like that. He said it could be a hunter, because hunters used to stay up there in a cave. You could see their fire glowing at night. If it was a person, they would be walking, zigzagging the steps going down the side of that hill. But this light came over that hill just straight down like that. He seen that. And then, Linda Sulphur, our cousin, she said that, more like Leroy, you remember what she said about that light? She had a name for it, but she said they used to talk about that light because they live by the mountain over by Southport. that light comes out real slow down the side. It exists. And I can't even remember that name, but she would tell me if I asked her. I wish she was here tonight. She could talk about that. But there's things around here that's, I don't know. I asked Mom, I said, were they already here when the Creek settled here? She said some of the things were already here. Just like she was talking about that water, that Lake Eufaula water. There's serpents in that water. And they hibernate in the winter. But there can be, I heard stories even we're around Fame, just straight north of here, by Big Arbor Church. That road goes right into the lake. I guess Francis is still on the hayride, but he was telling me that they were down there at night. And they were on a boat, and they were going to the bank. They were, they were fishing out there, I guess, but they were shining a light to the bank. Hey, there was something with red eyes like that one right there behind us in those trees. It was standing there in the tree with red eyes with that light on it like that. And so that's around here. I don't know if it's a Bigfoot or what it is, but you hear red eyes sometimes. People talking about stuff like that. And then I said about that tall man. They said his eyes, they don't open like humans this way. They're vertical. Is that right? Vertical this way? They open this way. They don't open just like human does it. They're open this way. And that's what they used to say. And sometimes you're out in the woods, you might get turned around. You might think you lost your way. You think you know your way, but you get turned around. My dad, it happened to him going to Eufaula from town one time, to Eufaula Stomp Ground. He got turned around twice. And this other man told him how to take care of that. So he did. But it's, he said it's that cigarette you have in your pocket that those little people want. He said, just throw one on the ground and go on. That's what they want. They want that tobacco out of your pocket. That's what gets you lost. So he just threw it down there. He was all right after that. That's at a young age. He used to live with John Artisy. John Artisy lived in the house right over here. When they're going down that hayride, you go right by his house. There used to be a chimney standing there. And John Artisy was, I guess it was a healer's high over there. I believe one time. But when he died, my dad lived with him because my dad was an orphan. He didn't have nobody to live with in the summertime. So he had to go to military school later on. But they said when they took his body into Kelly Funeral Home, he had a body of a 19-year-old. Meaning he took care of himself. And through that medicine they take, that Eufaula, he took every year he took care of himself. And that's why he was fit. And that's why they said Eufaula never lost a ball game. Stickball game. And I have other people to not believe me, but that's okay. We know what we know. And anyway, there's a lot of things goes on around here. Even one time my our grandmother was in her sick bed in there, and she had the home health nurse come see her on Tuesdays. And it got to be Tuesday and Thursday when she got more and more ill. But she lost her camera because she took pictures of her clients. She lost her camera, and she says, can you come in here and help her find her camera? And we looked, and I can't find it. It's not here. She said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll come back Thursday. If you find it, let me know. And I went to work. Chicago, I used to work at Chicago, and I came home, and I got there just when the home health lady was leaving. She said, I found my camera. I said, what was it? It was stuck way in the corner under the dresser, under the mirror, way in the corner. She said, how it got there, I don't know. And then, again, she talks about little people playing games. And they like to stay in pine tree. And a lot of these things happen to us out here. One time when my grandpa died, I didn't talked about him already, when he was But he passed away. We was on his last night of his life. He was in the bedroom. And Lonnie Lewis, I think Lois Deere, Dan Scott, John Scott, Hetty Lewis, all brothers and sisters, they were there in the front room. I think Garfield was around somewhere, but anyway, they when the sun was coming up, Lonnie woke up. She heard a creek singing above the house, or she said it was above the house, but it was there, right there amongst them. They heard that creek songs, real pretty songs, and he passed away just when that sun was coming up on May 17th, I believe. But anyway, things like that happens. Don't be afraid of it. It's spiritual. These are spiritual matters that we all, I always say Indian people are spiritual people anyway. And it's a lot of things that goes on in our life that we don't understand. But somebody may know something and tell you one day. One time I was burning the fire like that back here. And I was burning some old lumber and stuff. And I was just sitting out there just thinking about people and just that there. And a bird flew out of that fire. I seen that bird flew out of that fire. Took off. Nobody could ever tell me what it was or what it was about. But one time he said, somebody told me that sometime our folks leave things behind, like protection or whatever. It's just a sign that it's gone. It's took a flight. And anyway, my grandpa he encountered a creature over around by Wilson House, east of West Eufaula. This thing stood. It looked like a horse, but it had a face like I want to say like face like a man. He even put it in that buckskin issue one time. I gave it to Junior one time. I don't even know what happened to that issue. But he said, don't never run. If you see anything unusual, don't run because it'll make you crazy. It'll affect your heart. It'll tear your heart, make you skip your breathing. You'll just run insane. He said, I stood my ground when I seen that, and I just turned around and walked away. He said, whatever this thing was, it looked like it just came out of a pond or something, because it was dripping. It was just wet. And I've got more stories, but I'll go ahead and turn it over to somebody else that's getting real creeped out here. Hey, there's something in that tree up there. Okay, there was two incidences actually Coleman recently. Coleman Lewis and his wife Hetty, and my grandpa and grandma were they were coming back from Vine Creek or somewhere, Gore, come back this way. And so a woman jumped out coming down from the side of the hill in a white dress and coming towards coming towards the car. It came at him and it started kind of getting close to the window like she was trying to get in the car. And she was wearing the old-time 1880 dress, the old Western dresses, I guess. But she was white-looking, just white. And they couldn't figure that out, and they just kept on coming. And this Hetty and Coleman seen it, just north of Eufaula on the old highway that goes across the river. That old highway. Anyway, right somewhere, they seen it again. This woman come out of the woods and was clawing at the window of the car. They just kept driving though. But it tells me, to me, it seems like it's spirits that hasn't left yet, or something that's staying behind. But it's just like anything else. I don't know if you'll remember this or maybe related to them, but this Indian man got hit by a car. Drunk driver actually hit him. Hit the man walking on the highway. This Indian man was walking on the highway between Milwaukee and Seminoles, and hit him. And he kept on driving. And when this drunk guy got back home, next morning he got up, he looked at the back seat of the car, and that man's head was in the back seat. And so that family was pleading with so-and-so to please find his head or his remains, because he'll be wandering around the rest of his life if he can't find that head, because they're going to bury him. So anyway, they finally found out who did that crime, and I don't know what they did with him. Locked him up, I'm sure. But stuff like that, it's you're leaving the spirit roaming all the time if they're not all together. And there's probably a lot of spirits running around a lot of places. That's why they talk about protecting yourself with medicine a lot, because it makes you sick if you don't take care of it. Take care of yourself. So anyway, anybody else got anything to say? Do I need to sing another song? Any white people in the house? I'm dreaming of a white woman.
Guy's gonna get beat up tonight. Yeah, he'll be blaming it on one of those spirits. All right, I got a couple of storytellers lined up, so I'm gonna turn it over this one real quick, and I got another one coming up.
Thank you. Every time I get a mic, I want to start singing too. So this one didn't personally happen to me. It's one I've heard from a friend of mine. This is about 2013, 2014 or so in Maud. I heard this story. And Maud, Oklahoma down there. There was this old man, I think his name was Leroy or something along those lines. Rumor was this old man was a spaghetti. And I didn't believe much of it, didn't hear much of that. Till I heard a friend of mine said that they seen this giant owl coming home one day. And they hit him with this car. Rusted his windshield all up. They said, oh yeah, no, that was old man Leroy you hit. And they're like, no, it wasn't. They said, yeah, because 2 days later we seen him in a wheelchair down the street. He's all busted and banged up and everything else. And they said, yeah, we haven't seen that owl since you hit him. Well, after he got healed up and, out of his cast and things, they said they started seeing that owl start flying again. Well, I heard he passed away a couple years back, and everyone says they haven't seen that giant owl in that area since then. And so there's that one. Now, I used to live with my grandma from 2012 up until 2020, I believe, 2019. And I used to start seeing these shadow men follow me around everywhere. I'd see them on the walls. I would see these figures just walking across the walls. I didn't think anything of it back then. Until they started coming, you start seeing them from a distance. I'd be laying on the couch watching TV or something. I'd just see them kind of make their way across the wall, one or two at a time. Didn't think anything of it. They weren't bothering me. I didn't bother them. I just ignored it. Then it started getting a little bit more serious. To the point where I'd be laying in my bed, middle of the night, dark in my room, can't see anything, but you can feel that presence there. And I can't move, I can't scream, I'm just laying there with my eyes open, and I'm looking in the corner of my room, and there he is, just standing right there. I can see him, real tall, like, just staring at me, and I can't move, can't get out of bed. And I'm scared, just beyond belief. So I'd be laying there for 20, 30 minutes just looking at him, he's looking at me. One of those, like, if I move my head real quick, he's going to come and get me. So it started off, he'd be in the corner of the room, like from here to that light post, or the light post. That's a big old room. But he would start in the corner of the room, and then he would disappear for weeks, months at a time. I wouldn't see him anymore. Then out of nowhere, he'd pop back up again in my life, and he'd be closer. Each time I'd see him, he'd start coming closer and closer, and I get just the worst feeling in the world that I've ever had. To the point where I don't mind the dark. The dark doesn't scare me. Well, it did. To the point where I'd be sleeping with all my bedroom lights on, the lamps on. I got my phone right next to me. I got, to the point where I'm sleeping on the couch, leaving my bedroom and just sleeping on the couch with all the lights on, TVs on, just so I don't have to see that darkness anymore, or feel that darkness. But it got to the point where it was leaving my house now and following me everywhere I went. I'd be at a hotel somewhere down the road on the powwow trail, and I can't, if I've got other people in my room, I can't sleep with all the lights on. They wouldn't like that. So I'd sit there in bed all night long because I can't sleep because I'm scared out of my mind that something's going to happen. And I finally drift to sleep, and then something wakes me up. I'm sitting there waking up, and he's right here next to me, staring down at me the entire time. And I can't, like I said, I can't scream, I can't move. I'm stuck. Now, I wish I could tell you that there's a happy end of the story that would go away. Just because I haven't seen him in the last year doesn't mean he's not out there anymore looking for me.
Who's next?
At least not a lot of people are here. Hello, so it's me again. I got another story. This is kind of maybe when I was in middle school. Actually, yeah, because we lived in this house in Anadarko. We didn't live there. We lived there for a couple of years or whatever, and I remember one time getting off of school, and I went to go stay like with my friend for a little bit, just until I had to go home because we lived in Anadarko. My mom was working in the city at the time, and I was gonna walk all the way across town to go home because I didn't have anybody to come get me or whatever. But then it started. I guess the rain was gonna come in, so my friend's mom offered to take me home, and I was like, yeah, it'll be fine, whatever. So maybe about an hour later, I decide to go home. She takes me home, and it's like raining real heavy, and for some reason our porch light isn't on, and my mom turns it on just in case, nobody's home just so we can see, so we can get in, because it's dark. It's like pitch black at night, and so I get home, and it's raining, and they don't leave until, they make sure that I get in safely. And so everything's dark, it's raining, I can't see, and so I finally put the key in the hole, and I finally unlocked the door, and so I turn around, and I wave bye to them, because, I got in safely, and my house is pitch dark, there's no lamp on, nothing. And so I shut the door behind me, and I've seen a couple of spirits in that house before, but we never thought anything of it. They never go past the hallway for some reason. They just peek around the corner at us. So, moment I turn around, I see this figure standing at the end of the hallway with, green eyes. I don't know, it was glowing. And I'm just shocked. I stay there in shock. I don't know what it is. It stares at me. I stare at it, and I just look. And then all of a sudden, I see it fade into my brother's room, because the way it was like an L shape. So straight down the hallway is my brother's, next door is my mom's, and then there's mine. Keep in mind, it's pitch black in my house, can't see, it's raining, it's scary. Of course I'm scared, I'm a middle schooler at home alone. And I just see it, and then it just fades into my brother's room, and I get scared, and I'm like, where's the lamp? I can't see anything. I don't even think I have my phone. It's probably dead at this time. And I start getting this bad feeling. And so my mom was still 2 hours away, and she was just about to get off. So finally find the lamp, but I'm still scared, so I book it back into my room and I stay there, and I just get this overwhelming feeling that I'm not alone in my house. So thankfully, we kind of lived in a cul-de-sac at the time, so 2 streets over, my aunt lived. So I was like, Auntie, are you home? Can you come get me? Can you come get me? And she was like, what's wrong? I said, I saw something in the hallway and I'm scared. I don't feel good. I don't want to be here right now. So not even like 10 minutes later, it starts calming down, everything. And I'm afraid to come out of my room, even though like all the lights are on and everything. And all I hear, so my nickname, she calls me too. So I'm scared, I'm like crying, I'm shaking in my room because I'm alone, I don't want to leave. It's raining, so I can't just walk to my aunt's house. She comes and gets me, and she's like, where are you? Come on, it's me. She's like, just lock the door when you leave, and your mom will come get you when you get home. And I couldn't move, and so she had to walk back there to come get me, and I was just crying and shaking, and that was the only time that I was ever scared of seeing a spirit in my mom's house. And we've had a couple, like, you know, we used to sleep in the living room. We used to, you know, we just used to make little pallets in the living room, watch TVs. And my mom, she likes to watch all this paranormal videos or whatever. And so I think she's the reason why there's spirits in our house. I don't know, but that's the last time I ever saw anything scary. That's my story.
Mado. All right, we got a young man back here ready to tell his story. We're going to call him up. All right, here you go.
Hello, my name is Brady. I'm just going to tell one story. I was sitting in my living room watching TV, and on the corner of my eye, I see my grandpa. It was like a black figure with a white face. So I kept on so I looked back at the TV, turned it on, and started watching cartoons. Until I seen it again. But I turned to look at it, it was gone, so I quickly turned off the TV and ran to my grandpa's room so I could tell him what I seen. So that creeped me out.